Or is that the one you got? Turn back.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
you. Sure everybody's mics are on. Go ahead with the roll call.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner Walter.
Here.
Commissioner Bonnet.
Present.
Commissioner Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here and present.
Commissioner Allgaier.
Here.
Chairman Yoder.
Here.
All present.
All right, next up, we have approval of board minutes. We have 3 minutes here to approve. I will note on the executive board session minutes, there's one item, I believe is on page 9, that was in there referring to the vote on the housing action committee. It recorded me as a no vote, I believe, and I was supposed to be a yes, so I'm guessing somehow I rewatched the video to make sure I didn't forget, and I saw that I was correct, but I guess I didn't state it loudly enough, so so I'll just make a note of that for the clerk. Than that, get a motion. Commissioner
I would move that we approve minutes for the regular session Tuesday, May 20th, and regular session Tuesday, June 17th.
made and supported to approve the regular session meeting minutes for Tuesday, May 20th and Tuesday, June 17th. Discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0. For the executive board.
But it needs to be corrected.
Oh.
I make a motion that we approve the executive board sessions for Tuesday, July 8th, 2025 with the correction as noted.
Second.
Supported by Commissioner Robbins. Discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. All right, next up, we have the agenda in front of us. Do you have any additions?
I move we accept the agenda as presented.
All right,
Second.
motion made, supported by Commissioner Robbins. Discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. All right, next up, we have communications. First one, we have an update from our administrator.
Just something briefly that to kind of even amplify a little bit of the presentation I gave regarding Blue Cross Blue Shield. We also met today with our consultant and kind of our internal team that's reviewing this. The circumstances are essentially the same as reported last meeting, but we do have some good news. As I indicated, we had 3 years running of claims in excess of the amount of premiums paid for the stop loss. That trend actually looks like it's reversing. We have about $300,000 more in premium paid and claims made, which would, if that trend continues, suggest there's a little bit more, I would call it wiggle room perhaps, or a little bit less of a need or urgency for any action on our part. We're going to be closely watching that in the next couple months to see if that trend continues. That's the only report I have for this evening.
All right, If not, next up, we have Meals on Wheels. We got Lisa here.
Thank you so much for having me. As you know, Lena did her presentation last week, but because we work so closely in partnership, we just decided we're gonna be together because that's how we do things. So we have two different slides, presentations. One is the regional impact.
I don't do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if Lauren.
Oh,
She is.
She is, okay.
okay. Or did you get hard copies of the presentation? Okay.
It's in their packet.
We can go through that. So the first one I'm going to go over is at the top is Meals on Wheels. So that's going to be the second one. And then there is another document that is labeled Meals on Wheels of NMCA Regional Impact. So I'm going to first talk about, because we have a lot of Board of Commissioners that I have not presented to in the past, some very familiar with Meals on Wheels and me, but just to make sure that we all have the same information. Let's see. So the document that we just pulled up a moment ago was the right one, but if it doesn't, the one that was Regional Impact that had Meals on Wheels of NMCAA at the top. But in your packet, you have this, so I'll go ahead and start going over it. So I'm going to first talk about Meals on Wheels as a whole. So Meals on Wheels is a part of the organization NMCAA, which is Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. And that agency covers 10 counties. And we have programs anywhere from the beginning of life, Head Start, early Head Start, to the end of later years with Meals on Wheels. And so Meals on Wheels is so much more than a meal. First of all, it's the vital nutrition. Food is medicine. 1 in 7 seniors face food insecurity. And so Meals on Wheels helps address that. We work very hard to make the meals be, first of all, delicious. If they're not delicious, it doesn't really matter how nutritious they are because they're not going to eat them and enjoy them. So we rely very heavily on client feedback. We seek client feedback on an ongoing basis. We incorporate that feedback into the menus. And then in terms of being nutritious, we work very closely with the area agency that you heard from last week and the registered dietitian. And so there's state and federal guidelines that we follow. And then also every single month, the menu is approved by the registered dietitian. And that's so that we have a lower level of sodium. We don't have too many carbs for people that have diabetes issues, all kinds of things, that there's a variety in the meals, many different things. So the first is vital nutrition. The second is where the more than the meal comes in. So we never leave the meal if people aren't there. So because part of it is making sure that they're okay, the food's okay, but more importantly, that they're okay, physically, emotionally, etc. So we do a safety check when we come in. We make sure they're there, they're alive and well. And it's also just a feeling that they care. We talked a lot of last week, you guys talked about isolation. And that's one of the most prevalent issues for a lot of people, but especially for our seniors and especially in rural areas like Leelanau County. So checking in with them, making sure they're okay. And as I've done ride-alongs before, gone with people, there was one gentleman I was with, and he can't really prepare meals, but he can make this bread that his wife always made. He said he called it the family bread. And a driver was coming, her name was Colby, and he has a loaf for a family bread for her because she's just like part of the family. So they become very important to them, like part of the family. The third piece is that part of the program requirement is that we do assessments, which means we assess to make sure the meals are a good fit for them. And we do that after they've been getting meals for about 2 weeks and then every 6 months. After 2 weeks in person
and then and once a year in person, and then once a year over the phone. And that's, again, customer client satisfaction, how they like the meals, we make changes to them, and also, do they need other services? So we receive a lot of referrals from Leelanau County Senior Services, or if we haven't, if we received a referral from somebody else, we may make referrals to Leelanau County Senior Services or Share Care. Many times, Adult Protective Services. There was a case that Lena was talking about. I knew exactly who she was talking about because we work very closely with them and Adult Protective Services on this individual to make sure that they can be independent with the meals, and then all of the other services that they may have. We help really do a warm referral and help make sure they have those services. And then, so in the end, the mission of all of those activities is to improve the health and also the quality of life of vulnerable homebound seniors by delivering the vital nutrition, compassionate visits, and safety checks, which enables them to live nourished lives, nourished in many ways, not just through the food, but their whole self, with independence and dignity. And a lot of people sometimes are hesitant to call Meals on Wheels. And if we always say they live their whole life for other people, now it's their turn to be able to accept help. And sometimes if I'm talking to them, or we all do this, say, you know what, do it for me. I wake up every day, I've been doing this for 14 years, and every day I'm inspired more than the rest because they've lived their whole life. And now this is why we do what we do. And there are a lot of people involved in helping to make sure this is possible, like the county through the millage dollars, and individual donors, grants, business donors, federal and state government. There are a lot of people that think it's important. So do it for us. And they, well, okay. So, and that allows them to be independent. Sometimes they think, well, I don't really want to ask for help. There's other people who need help. And just by sometimes just having Meals on Wheels is the one thing that they need in order to stay out of the hospital or nursing facility. So that leads me to the next thing, which is at the bottom of, it's not on there. We're going to get to that slide in a moment, but at the bottom of the sheet that you have, and it's this graphic down at the bottom. And it says that Meals on Wheels is good business. It's good business for you. It's good business for other funders. And that's because, yeah, thank you. So the cost of a year of Meals on Wheels is equal to 6 days in a nursing home or 1 day in the hospital. So what it takes for us to provide meals for an entire year is what somebody would spend or a government would spend for 1 day in the hospital or 6 days in a nursing home. And we often think that we'd use that comparison because we think sometimes just having Meals on Wheels, the vital nutrition, the safety checks, the referral to other services can be the main thing that they may need to be able to stay in their home with dignity. A little bit of statistics. So again, region-wide, this is going to be for last year. Our program works on a fiscal year, October through September. So for the last full year, across 4 counties, we cover Grand Traverse, Leelanau, Wexford, and Misaki. We had 179,000 meals home delivered. In addition to that, were congregate meals at our Friendship Center that we've worked on in collaboration with Leelanau County Senior Services. Individuals who are eligible, the main eligibility is they're 60 and they're homebound. By that, it means it's not that they never leave their home, but it's difficult or it's taxing for them. We do a full intake that has all their diagnoses, their activities of daily living. How hard is it to get out? I got in my car and without any trouble, I came here. That's not, if anybody has anything else that's taxing, that's what's considered homebound. It's not based on income. It's the only program in our agency that's not based on income. We ask about income for information purposes, so we can refer them to other services that may be based on income. And the way the program works, this is the federal requirement, is that no one is charged for the meals. We're required to give everyone the opportunity to contribute on a voluntary basis, but no one is required. And I think it's beautiful because people who feel good about contributing and can do, but if they can't, they don't. So we send a letter every month. We make it very clear this is not a bill, but it lists the meals they have. We have a suggested donation of $4 a meal, and people send back what they want. And some people take it very seriously. And we raise about more than $200,000 a year which is kind of crazy thinking that it's all voluntary, but they're so grateful for the service and they want to be able to do their part when they can. I'm going to give a little story. I may have said this one in the past, so some people may have heard it. It's called Waiting for Daylight. So I knocked once more, this time a little louder. There was still no answer. I walked around to the side door and knocked again. This door was unlocked. I opened it and called her name. The voice I heard was faint. I went in and found Sarah on the floor of the bedroom. She'd fallen in the night and was unable to reach her phone. Sarah told me that she wasn't hurt, just unable to get up. I called for assistance and waited with her until they arrived. She told me that what kept her calm was watching and waiting for daylight. Once it was light, I knew it wouldn't be long before you get here. So it's just kind of an example that these individuals really rely on us for the food, for the friendship, for the safety check, and for the fact that they know we're going to be here when sometimes we're the only person that they may see for a long time. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the Leelanau County specific presentation and to tell you a little bit about the impact. So everything I talked about that we do, this is exactly what we do in Leelanau County. In terms of the numbers, there we go. Again, for the last full year, we served 28, and for home delivered meals, 20,872 meals were delivered to 134 seniors. 6 months through our year, it really is about half of that, 10,407 meals delivered to 111 seniors. And we cover every inch of Leelanau County, of course, which spans about 285 miles of routes. The millage that you provide to Meals on Wheels is for home delivered meals. I included information about congregate meals. So the congregate meals, the only requirement is the individuals are over 60. And the site we have right now is at the Friendship Center. And we're working on a site getting closer and closer in Maple City. And again, it's in collaboration with Lena, figuring out where do we think there's need, where would a best site be, and we're doing it in collaboration with community partners like the Friendship Center. Maple City is with it's going to be at the Lions Club on Thursdays. So last full year, 2,630 meals served to 83 seniors, and then for the first 6 months was 1,328. This, just so you know, this is all seniors, and some of it we have contracts with that they pay us, not as much, but they pay us. And then what the millage covers is funding that we, that we don't have. And so that may be, there's an organization PACE that we have a contract with, Medicaid waiver that is from organizations here. And then we had a contract with the Grand Traverse Band to deliver meals for part of the year. They're now doing their own meals at their elder center, but they needed us to help with that for a while. So the way our funding works on the next slide is that our budget is about I'm on the second page, $1.67 million for our whole program for home delivered and congregate meals. About 30% of that is covered through the Area Agency on Aging that Candy Landon talked about last week, that is federal and state funds. That means the rest, 70%, we have to raise. Some of that comes through the suggested donations that we talked about, which again is never guaranteed. Nothing is really ever guaranteed in our budget. It comes from grants, individual donations, funders that we have, and the most important element is the millage dollars. So that's what makes up kind of the rest of the 70%. In Leelanau County, the $75,000 for this year, it goes, like I said, just to home delivered meals, and covers about 30% of our, just specifically Leelanau County. We're very careful about tracking revenue and expenses by county very separately. So it covered about 30% of that home delivered revenue. What questions can I answer for you?
The 75,000 from Leelanau County, my assumption is that can only go to senior citizens because it comes from the senior millage.
Oh, yes.
But you serve other folks that are not included up there also.
And this funding does not cover that. So
Right.
yeah.
So that's the federal, the grants and things like that, that come. I'm talking about folks who may be homebound but don't hit the 60-year-old.
So we don't serve, we don't serve individuals through this method that are 60,
Okay.
that aren't 60. Over time, I think we've had one person that we have to charge them private pay. If they don't meet our eligibility requirements, then we have to charge them private pay, and they're disabled and don't get out. They meet every requirement except for over 60, but we can't serve them. So they have to pay, it's actually $10 charge. So this funding does not go towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this,
Somehow I thought that you managed to find a way through the federal money to.
no. So the way it works is this, the 30% that comes from the federal and state government, it's the funding through the federal and state government through the area agency is where all the regulations that we follow are. And one of the main ones is that individuals have to be, that have to meet the criteria that I said, they have to be 60 and homebound, et cetera. So like I said, that covers 30, then the Leelanau County millage covers about another 30, and the rest we have to figure out, if that makes sense. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, you talked about Maple City, and probably it's the Lions Club.
Yes.
Thinking.
Yeah.
Do you already have the funding for that to do that, or is that what you're really trying to figure out?
No, no, meaning that's not what we're figuring out. So we receive funding from the federal and state government to do home delivered meals and congregate meals. And so because of the support, even though the support is for home delivered meals, that partnership is so strong that we're able to look at doing additional congregate sites like in Maple City. What has been keeping us is there are several different regulations that we have to follow to make sure it's safe. So one was a fire inspection, and the fire fire chief, thank you, came and did an inspection. There were a few things that need to be done. And Lena and I just talked this afternoon. He said, and so she had said that spoke with Tom Peterson from the Lions Club, who had worked with the fire chief and correcting the different things that needed to be corrected. And now what we're doing is we're finding a driver. If any of you, let me just throw this out there, on Thursdays might be interested in a wonderful role that is a feel-good role, where it would be picking up the meals in Traverse City, bringing them to the luncheon site, staying and serving people and having the best time of your life with amazing people over lunch, and then bringing the containers back. That would be amazing. So the first thing we're waiting on is making sure all the regulations were covered, and it has to be approved by the state, and then making sure that we have a driver, but we'll figure that out. The main thing was that it's a safe space to use.
So how many do you feed at the Friendship Center right now?
Yeah.
Approximately.
Between 20 and 25 people on a regular basis on Fridays.
Mhm.
And is that what you're expecting about it?
We
Lions Club?
started with 2 people at the Friendship Center, so don't know.
The concept of build it and they will come. We feel like there are individuals who don't qualify for home delivered meals because they can get out easily. And they really are in need of good food and socialization. And Lena really looked at the areas of the county and thought, Maple City is kind of a central area. We also thought being at the Lions Club, that's a embedded potential population of Lion Club's members and their families and things that, or their, spouses and maybe friends that they know are in the same age group. So, yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
I just want to thank you for what you do. It's a safety net that any and all of us may need someday. So thank you for reaching out and helping seniors who get to a point where inevitably most of us will get.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's really when I go to different groups, and I often ask, who's familiar with Meals on Wheels? And so, usually 2/3 of the people raise their hand because they say, oh, I had a grandma and maybe downstate, another area. Oh, I had a mom who got Meals on Wheels. And so everyone, or I'm going to need Meals on Wheels soon. And so everyone could need it, or more than likely either know someone or could know someone. And also if there's anyone in, neighbors, friends, families that you know of that meet this criteria that that could need help, please reach out to Lena and we'll make sure they get help. Thank you for saying that. And thank you for all you do for our agency, as well as Sam. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, we're up to first public comments. We have, anybody can give public comment. They have 3 minutes that if they want to address anything on the agenda that's specific. Do we have any members of the public that wish to give public comment? Mr. Kelly.
You got my name right. Do I have to report my name? Tim McCauley from Elmwood Township. I believe I'm just going to make a short comment on Housing Action Committee recommendations. I just want to remind this board that 4 years ago, I went down a path of removing the financial officer from the clerk's office, and it was pretty much a disaster. 4 years of trying to fix that move, and at a cost of about $1 million to the county taxpayers. We hope that that's been resolved. But here we are again, going down a road at the urgence of, I believe, the administrator to go into the housing. Where's that going to end up? We all know that Leelanau County has a housing crisis, as does every county in the United States. I personally believe it might be because of 20 million illegal immigrants that are in this country, but who am I to say? But are we going to go down this road not knowing what it's going to cost the county taxpayers? You all know that the government, whenever they get their hands involved in something, it usually does not turn out well. I said my piece.
Any other public comment?
I'm Charlie Godbout from Empire Township. I'm also the chair of Parks and Rec Commission, so I'm going to ask you a question at this point. I'm here for your agenda item for our new mission statement. I can either make a statement now or be available for questions at that time.
We can, I'm okay if you want to, you can wait, then we've got questions as chair of the board. I'll allow that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other public comment? Mr. Asher.
Keith Ashley, Leland Township. I just have a simple question on the minutes that you approved for June 17th. There's the item of the attendance of the board chair at the White House Leadership Council. I understand this only cost a few $100s, but I'm wondering, and perhaps this could be addressed in the board commissioner comments soon. Will there be a report forthcoming, or tell us what we received for our investment? So that's my question.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Tony Borden. I live in Lake Leelanau. I'm the guy who was interviewed by Ron Jolly a few weeks ago about Mr. Dyer's misadventure with Cherryland.
What agenda item are you referring to?
I am referring to number 3 on the back, Board of Commissioners 4-month administrative review. Okay. The, I'm a lawyer practiced for 43 years. As general counsel of the Fortune 200 company, I ran a law department of 40 people. I've had a lot of experience with legal matters and managing lawyers and contracts. I've been reading the employment contract of Mr. Dyer's. It's not a good contract. And the situation will only be compounded if you fail to administer the contract according to the terms that are in there. This most recent event, I know there was an opinion that you'll say absolved him of any problems. I can tell you it was a narrowly crafted opinion that only focused on one issue. There are other issues that were raised. Mr. Dyer was hired to be the full-time administrator for the county, working exclusively on county business. He's very generously compensated at $127,000 a year. Now on the heels of his prior situation, he's representing Northport in litigation where he recently participated in a Zoom conference on July 9th with the court from his office in this building during working hours. This demonstrates certainly he's not working full-time or exclusively for the county. Further, his bar listing lists his address in the county office, so he's practicing law out of this building at taxpayer expense, which is nice because then he doesn't have to maintain an office. And what else does he have going on that we don't know about? This is a very troubling pattern of behavior that needs to be addressed forcefully and immediately by this commission. The pattern of behavior suggests Mr. Dyer doesn't feel he's bound by this contract. And the fact that he's a lawyer makes it clear he's not unknowingly disregarding his obligations. This county has a long record of screw-ups and failures. This is the first time I've ever appeared here. There are plenty of times I've been motivated to do that, but I've seen so many projects screwed up here over the years, and as a taxpayer, it really bothers me. So this board needs to address this situation with Mr. Dyer and his adherence to this contract as soon as possible. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
Hi, I'm Sam Getzinger from Elmwood Township. And I'm a retired kindergarten teacher. And I have a lot of sympathy for you guys. But, and I always wish there was beer at these meetings, but I also think that when you hire someone, they're not a slave. That you may have a contract, but it doesn't mean you can't pursue a life and do good deeds for your community and volunteer for other things in your life. The idea that someone should be reporting, you know, I don't think the commissioners we have where you are every 24 hours of the day. I don't know that we need to have that for our clerk, who I'm pretty sure works way more hours than anybody else anyway. I don't think we have that kind of right as citizens to expect that we're going to keep our eye on what somebody's doing as long as they're doing their job here. So it seems to me that there's a lot of, I read some comments before about a letter about Mr. Dyer, and I thought it was totally inappropriate. And he's not our slave. He's our administrator. I think we should give him some time to do the job. If you have problems with him, you may talk to him privately, but I think this is very disrespectful, what I just heard. Thank you.
Public comment? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Renee Weiler, and I am from Leelanau. And I filed bond claims back in April 6th of 2025. And
What agenda item are you referring to?
Mr. Dyer was going to be handling this for me, and I have not heard anything in regard to my bond claims.
Weiler, Ms. Weiler?
Yes.
I'll have you address, you can address the board at the end because that's not on the agenda, so
He is not on the agenda, number 3.
that's the review, but not what you're pertaining to.
Okay, so I won't waste your time. I just want you to know that the claims have not been processed. And the county is going to be liable.
Thank you.
I did refer it to the department, Michigan Department of Insurance and
Weiler.
Financial Services. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for respecting my First Amendment right.
Any other public comment? All right. Now we'll move on to commissioner comments. Russell?
I want to speak to the concern about Mr. Dyer helping out on a case that he initiated when he was in Northport. This is the second time I've heard this. We interviewed Mr. Dyer last year. We decided to offer him a contract. He's worked with us since April. He was almost done with this court case. When you transcend to another position, of course you have some cleanup to do. And before he came on board, we also expected Mr. Dyer to be available to us because he was our incoming administrator. I know for a fact, Mr. Dyer did not charge the county for that. In fact, he did not include that in his timesheet. He was not compensated for it. And it was done at the request of the village manager from Northport that replaced Mr. Dyer. So I think we need to make sure we have all of the facts before we accuse Mr. Dyer of poor behavior. I also received from Mr. White a letter to the commissioners where he referenced the administrator on his own making a decision on Housing Action Committee. He was directed by this board at the previous meeting, or 2 meetings previous to that, to come here in July and give us a recommendation. So I would urge our public and our staff and ourselves to make sure we're informed before we make outrageous, I think, charges. Thank you.
I'm really curious about this tact that is happening. For one thing, if we were gonna be really, really, really strict about hours, then he shouldn't be at this meeting. He should have gone home at 5 o'clock. Otherwise, he's exceeding his, contract. So if he stays late and happens to take a phone call while he's, finish up the business that Commissioner Wessel is referring to, I think we're getting a little nitpicky, and I wonder why we're wasting our time. We have an excellent administrator with good skills. Do we want to? I don't understand it. It's not constructive. It's not helping us move forward. And I thought that's where we wanted to go. I'd also like to just add this $1 million that keeps being thrown out. I hope people realize a lot of that was wages that were being paid to people to do our books. It's not like it was wasted money. We paid people to do our finances. And that's part of that $1 million that keeps getting thrown out that we wasted. We didn't waste it. We kept our finances clean. It was difficult. That money was spent doing the work. I hope we can get back to business and stop the little cabinets.
All right, any other commissioner comments? Yeah, Bill?
Honestly, Jim, I did have a concern on that, just because it's been 6.5 months. And as a commissioner, I would like to have known, because there's everybody else in the community knows this is a pretty small community. And I don't know anything about whatever this lawsuit was. But when you're the county administrator, I do know you can't take off that hat and go represent either municipality or an individual in a lawsuit and then assume that you're not still the county administrator. So I think it does make the county a participant in a lawsuit that I wish we would have avoided. And I'm not saying this about other things you do or anything like that. I just would like to know that when you're in the county and you're in the county building that, in my mind, representing another, a plaintiff in a lawsuit shouldn't happen because we have exclusivity built into that contract. That's my opinion. I still love you, but that's just my opinion.
Mr. Rollins?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but maybe some people, they would just pick up the phone and talk to them instead of fueling the public out there with fire. We wouldn't be here tonight discussing this. My point is, pick up the phone, talk to Mr. Dyer, if you have a question.
Well, my point is, that's my opinion, and
And that's
everyone
my
else
opinion.
is out here talking about it. I would rather speak about it in open rather than have closed meetings with the administrator to bring our thoughts there. I've got, some of us have siblings. I'm kind of used to talking in the open about what I believe, and that's just what I've learned.
Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Bunny?
Yeah, I just think that we should be informed ahead of time if something's gonna happen like this. I mean, I think that's what the contract says, is that the commissioner should be known about it. And I think the fact that it happened in the county building is the problem. I'm not saying that he shouldn't help out the township. I mean, he did have 90 days when after he was basically hired, or he had 90 days to complete that stuff. So we weren't informed, and that's where I feel we were let down by not being informed about this, when these things happen. And I also think that they shouldn't have happened in the county building.
Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Rollins?
I'll add one more thing. If you do the math, 90 days would have been after July 9th, and that's when this, I've been told, this meeting happened. So he did complete the mission within 90 days, people.
All right. Any other commissioner comments?
I feel left out. No, I still love you. All right, no.
I'm hoping we can actually get you this.
Wow. All right, I'll just make one note since I got mentioned by Mr. Ashley. If you read the last, or go through the minutes from the last executive meeting, I did brief the board on my trip out there, so it should be on camera, you can watch it, so on there. All right, with that, we will move on to the consent agenda. I'll read a quick statement here. Purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one motion without discussion. Any commissioner may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will automatically be respected and will not need a second. Okay.
I move to approve the consent agenda with one change. That the budget workshop meeting schedule for A be moved to an action item.
The board,
I can address which one.
The budget meeting schedule. I just need the last meeting.
Well, I can also, are you talking about the workshop schedule?
Yes.
Because we've indicated that as a to be arranged, which may or may not occur now.
Okay,
So if you want to address it, fine, but
as long as that's in the notes, I'm good.
yeah.
So I changed my motion to approve the consent agenda as.
There's not supposed to be a discussion about its consent agenda.
Right, the motion's been made. Mr. Campbell, are you in favor of that? You're still okay with that second?
I gave the second.
Yeah, I
Oh, was it,
gonna say,
oh, was it
yeah.
Mr. Russell? Oh,
I knew it was gonna be controversial.
Yes.
Is the motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the calendar to the action items? Is that what the motion is? That's what she stated.
I think I changed it to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, can you go back to your statement to see if there's any items to be
All right,
removed?
yeah, is there any commission that wishes to remove any items from the consent agenda?
I think we got a motion and a second on the floor still, unless you guys both withdraw your motion in a second. If you would do
We'll,
that.
we'll go with, you have a motion, but you removed in your motion, so we'll go with that motion, right?
I changed it,
You changed it
yeah.
to keep the consent agenda as presented, right?
And you'll have to withdraw,
You got it.
Okay, I'll withdraw.
and I approve.
All right, so do we have a motion now? Or anybody that wishes to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Move to go forward with consent agenda.
All right,
Presented.
Second.
moved and supported. Discussion? All right, well, I'll go have the roll call.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Chairman Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Alguier,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonnet,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
7-0, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, first action item, we have building safety, vehicle take-home policy.
Andrew's here, and before let me address just historically what's happened so far. We've had this policy discussed at 2 meetings of the building safety committee. And at the time we discussed it at those meetings, there is an existing board policy that for some reason was not on the website. And I was not aware of it at the time. It does permit the department, at the request of the department head, it's them to request the administrator to approve allowing employees to take the vehicle home, subject to the business necessity to do so. In addition, there is a IRS policy, and I think Kathy will address this to some extent, that also permits that to occur with a charge of a $1.50 imputed income per trip to the employee. And what we are proposing is to allow the administration to apply that policy as it exists. Normally, we would not come to you to get approval to exercise one of your own policies. Because it was discussed twice at the Building Safety Committee, we thought it would be prudent to have you consider it as a full board, whether you want to retain that policy as it currently exists and allow us to implement it for a 90-day, essentially a trial period that would demonstrate the existence of a true business necessity. The employees will be required to chart all of their mileage through a phone app that activates every time the car moves. They'll have to log in, the mileage that they use. So again, this is an unusual circumstance. Normally, I would just implement this policy because it currently exists and has been approved by the board. I wanted to give you full notice about our intentions and give you the opportunity to react to that. And Amber and Kathy can provide you with additional information and answer any questions.
So I think Jim kind of put it all together in a nutshell. This is not something new. I'm not trying to do this as a result of a new hire. This has been hashed out with the committee a couple times, but this is something that's been requested by other staff in the past. We just haven't got as far into the discussion, nor did I have the vehicle policy at that time. After our second committee meeting, I discovered it had been sent to me by a previous employee, And I brought it to Kathy's attention and Jim's, and then we had a brainstorm session. Is this something we can work within the existing policy rather than trying to reinvent the wheel? So that is why we're here today, to get your all thoughts on this and to try this for 90 days and see if it does work for my department.
Mr. Robbins?
The question I have is, this isn't like our normal 10 miles out of the county. My homework that I've done with this individual we're talking about is 90 miles round trip, 5 days a week or 3 days a week because he's part-time, I was told. So that's 500 miles every week that's not benefiting Leelanau County.
So I do have a total of 5 inspectors.
I'm not talking about 5 inspectors, I'm talking about this,
There would be 3 that this would impact.
but the one we're talking about tonight lives in 3 counties away
There's 37 miles outside the county line to his residence, yes,
from the county line.
from the county
Plus he
line,
has to
one
drive
way,
up here.
yes.
So that's, it's not like the deputies where we got a 15-mile radius. I mean, we're talking Antrim County almost to Mansalon. And we're talking about the second worst road in northern Michigan, M72 East, 131 north of Kalkaska. There's quite a few fails. And I guess what I'm looking at is the liability to us. You know, he or she may be driving perfectly normal, but she gets an accident, they see that logo inside Leelanau County. We're deep pockets, we're gonna get sued. We may be in the right, but it costs money for a lawsuit.
Mr. Wessel?
Yeah, thanks for sharing the policy. I don't remember seeing this, but it does say that vehicles may not be used for personal travel.
Right.
And I think going to work is part of personal travel. And I have the same concern that Rick has, that it just seems like we're spending an awful lot of money. And if I could drive that far 5 days a week for $1 a trip, wow, what a deal. And I have a hard time supporting this, even though it's within our policy. And I don't know why we support this, and I understand the high cost of living in the county, and it's hard to get people, but everybody that works here, that works outside of the county, has the same issue. And I'm afraid we're opening up a can of worms.
Mr. Algar?
So the other inspectors all have cars. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
Yeah, everybody has a personal vehicle. We would be talking about use of the county vehicle.
Okay, so how many inspectors have a county vehicle?
They're all assigned a county vehicle. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. We're currently down a vehicle, which is part of the second request. So I have 4 road operational vehicles right now, and I have 5 inspectors.
They're routinely assigned a county vehicle. Since we're down on that employees get mileage for their personal, their use of their personal.
My spare vehicle is out of commission.
So would that person have to drive all the way up here every day? Or do they just go get a schedule of the inspections they have to do and they just go do them?
No, they drive to the office first. We have team meetings every morning, and then they route out from there. The current procedure is that staff goes to the office first in the morning, gets their routes, we have our meetings, then they go out and they come back. With this procedure change, that would be modified. They'd only be, excuse me, coming into the office in the morning. They would not be coming back at the end of the day. They would enter results the following day.
Yeah, so nobody else has to. I'm just uncomfortable with having one inspector.
In all honesty, it wouldn't be
Differently.
one. This would be offered to all of the inspectors.
But I thought you said they have cars.
They come here. and
They
take-
come here, yes.
Oh, they
So,
come here and they get the car.
yes, yeah, the vehicles are based here. So I have 3 inspectors that, should you allow the trial to take place, would like to take advantage of that.
Oh, well, I misunderstood. If they're all coming here to get their cars. Then
And my part in this discussion in Discovery was to talk with Grand Traverse County. All their inspectors have take-home vehicles. They do have this commuting valuation rule in place. I did talk to the finance director for Grand Traverse County about people who live in county and out. He said it does make them a more attractive employer. They are able to pull from a larger pool of inspectors that might not be in the county. Then the scheduling is that when they hit the county line, they start their inspections and they're mapped out as they come in and then as they go out. So it increases efficiency. I also know that it has a presence. All the vehicles are marked, so that's a good thing, that everyone is driving a marked car. We currently have an inspector who's having to use a personal car and being reimbursed because we're in the shop getting that one vehicle repaired. So that's what Grand Traverse County is doing. All their inspectors have them. And I said, well, there is the question about the distance from the county line. It's going to be inequitable. You've got an inspector who lives 10 miles from the county seat, somebody who lives more than that. And he said, you know what, it's a cost of doing business to have inspectors to perform the tasks that are required by building safety.
All right, I'll be Commissioner Bunnick and then.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were gonna change your policy because of this and having them do inspections as they come, or are they still gonna have to come here in the morning first?
It wouldn't be policy, it'd be procedure. I don't have a department policy for it, but yeah, the goal would be to still have everybody come in the morning. But every schedule is different day to day. So if it makes more sense to start your inspections on the way in, then come in, then yes.
Yeah, because I mean, I know Elmwood has tremendous amount of inspections. So coming through, if you could do them in the morning at 8 or 8:30, would really help out a lot of, construction.
Yeah, and it would for
I
one
know
of the
that
others
myself.
as well, coming from the
Right.
Benzie area would hit the Empire area on the way in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, I was at the building committee meeting. This conversation really did evolve after that. Wasn't there a conversation about reimbursing per mile and things like that at that meeting?
No, the previous meeting, there had been some discussion of that.
was the one I was
Yeah.
at. Okay, but anyways, so this policy, the defining this policy moved that discussion right along to a little different place.
Yeah, basically we did a 180. Once we found the
Okay.
policy, everything changed discussion wise.
I'm going a little wacky, but I didn't think that was funny. Is this different than our sheriff deputy policy?
That is a policy adopted by the sheriff.
Yeah.
His own policy is not necessarily your policy. So it's different in that sense. And in addition, patrol vehicles are treated differently under the IRS rules. In fact, you don't even have to, you're permitted to allow them to use that for comedic purposes, provided they're on call. And our inspectors are not on call in the same way that police officers might be. And that's why we're proposing, if we do this at all, that it be done on a 90-day period, on a 90-day pilot period, to determine if in fact it can be demonstrated to be a business necessity, because that's the standard you have to apply under both the IRS rule and by implication, I think your policy as well. Like I said, we found ourselves in a real difficult and unusual position that we already had an existing policy that would, in theory, permit what we're proposing. But again, under the circumstances, we didn't want to implement that policy without at least your implicit, if not explicit consent to do so. If you determine you don't want to do this, I would strongly suggest that we reconsider that policy as a whole. Are not inclined to do this. So I also encourage you not to consider a specific, how it applies to any specific individual, because policy is intended to apply under any circumstances. But I understand, somebody lives 37 miles away, it impacts the county significantly differently than somebody that lives just, within the county or just outside the county line. I understand.
So we don't have to worry about parallels with the sheriff's policy.
Correct.
Do inspectors have, they have their own phone assigned to them?
Yes, they have a county phone assigned to them,
Okay,
County phone.
county phone.
okay. There's a provision in
And the
there.
track,
about
the
not using
tracking,
your
the
personal
tracking
phone.
app would be on that phone, not your personal.
Do you, Mr. Administrator, do you anticipate that there would be jealousies that this may cause ripples within this building?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I do think that that's a possibility, and that's one of the reasons, again, I think that the policy that you adopted was intended to address that issue by requiring the demonstration of a business necessity approved by the county administrator. I think that was the reason for that. I suspect that was the reason for that, the adoption of that policy in the form that it was. That it couldn't just be applied, to anyone. You had to demonstrate a business necessity. That may not be the exact wording of the policy, but that's how I interpret it as the involvement of the administrators. It was demonstrating that. And obviously, if the board were to disagree, they could direct the administrator to act otherwise. And that's kind of what we're asking you to do in advance of action.
What would be your recommendation on?
This is a tough one because I kind of agree with the commissioners that have spoken against the idea. And again, and I know Amber, we're saying this, you can't make this decision based upon a specific employee. But I will say I would base a decision on our ability to fill that position. It took 6 months, correct?
Yeah, and we had to
6 months to
advertise
find that person.
much further outside of the local area to get a
And
qualified
we
applicant.
weren't able to have get that position filled. And one of the real serious concerns that I hear expressed in public about the building safety department is they can't get to enough inspections. It takes too long to get from start to finish to get approved. And if we don't have inspectors, a sufficient number of inspectors, that impedes our ability to do that. One of the other things that you approved was you approved a form contract for us to use for temporary filling inspectors as well, which was.
We're not there yet.
It hasn't been approved yet, but you're right. But that's something we've got a draft template from our legal consultants on that would permit us to actually backfill some of that with new contractors that are qualified to be inspectors, but just don't want to do it full time for us. That's going to be something we're going to, I think, have to move to get the work done. Thank you.
Right, we got Commissioner Robinson and Commissioner. Oh,
Mark, did you want to go?
No.
I realize we have problems trying to recruit people. Everybody does. I mean, I've been on the phone today on this issue. I mean, I know people that work at Elmer's. They drive from Raleigh to go to Elmer's on their own dime. I know a guy that's sitting in the back room back there. I just talked to him today. He drove clear to Benton Harbor to start his job. That's how it's always been. I mean, that's what should be expected. We're opening up a can of worms just within this building here. We got an employee that lives in Williamsburg. Why not give her a gas card? She's making a lot less money than your inspectors. And I just feel that, we can look at this, but this right now, I mean, I know what's going on here. I mean, we talk about it's your division. It's about one employee. I mean, we got to be honest in this room, transparency. It's about one employee. If he don't get his way, I've been told he's going to quit.
That's not entirely accurate. So I haven't had that conversation with you, Commissioner Robbins, so I don't know where you got your information
Okay, I
from.
got from reliable source.
Okay, because that's not what's been relayed to me by that employee.
The only one vehicle I've been told that it's been offered to him that drive your own personal vehicle to Elmwood Township, like the other inspector drives to Maple City. I was told that he doesn't want to do that. So, I mean, I don't like having this gun put to our head. It's all or nothing, just to keep an employee.
Yeah, we actually are discussing a policy here that's in place, that was put in place, and you're trying to make it be to one person. And it's not. It's a policy that commissioners have set up, and all we're saying is, we want to keep following that policy or not? You know, and if we do, then we need to reassess the policy, but right now, I don't think we have a motion, we don't have a different policy. I think we give them the 90 days, and we come in that time, if we want to change it, we change the policy. But at this time, it's in place, and we don't have to have a motion or anything. And they could have done it without bringing it to us. I think it's a courtesy that they brought it here, but I do think if we want to change it, then we should, but I don't think tonight is the time to do it. I think let it go for the 90 days, and in that meantime, if we want to change it, we can. And then they can come back with a report, hopefully, and tell us how it's going, if it's beneficial, if it's not beneficial. But I appreciate the letting us know that this is in place and this is what they're going to do. And I'd say we should get a report, and then we can decide if we want to go from there.
Commissioner O'Hara?
I would support that. Just following the existing policy. The hiring thing is what I was focused on. It is hard to hire. And if it took you 6 months to find this person, I imagine you really like him to work. I also think Commissioner Bunnick's comment about it sure would be nice if the inspectors could be in the field at 8 o'clock in the morning and 8:30. So during this 90 days, perhaps you can just look at your whole policy on this. Because it's kind of crazy to me. They all have to come here and then they have to all go back. That's a lot of time and a lot of miles, but this is your business. So unless you want to figure it out.
Well, and to that point, if I may, Administrator Dyer and I have been through extensive discussion as to how this is going to impact my department. And we're aware that if the trial period goes through, this is a big trial. It's a big ask. So there will be frequent communication between myself and the administrator as the data comes in. The goal is that as that information comes in, every pay period, I will be reviewing it. If any alarming trends just come up, if it is showing that it's not worth it, then it's going to be discontinued right away. There will be extensive discussions between myself and Administrator Dyer.
I would just like to add to, this department is different than other departments. They're using their cars to do their job. So in terms of other people in the building all wanting cars, they come here to work. There's no sense.
All right, I believe we've had plenty of discussion on that, and I know I shared my concerns at building and safety too, but I felt like after seeing this policy, I'm willing to let it go for a trial period if we get a thorough report back from the administrator and see if it, is it actually benefiting? Is it costing the county too much or whatever? I'm willing to go on a trial period on that. So just to see if that's feasible and if it actually is benefiting the county. If, and I'm assuming you don't necessarily need a motion, you'll just do that on a 90-day trial period and bring a thorough report back to us.
That would be, again, my intent was to inform you that that's how we wish to proceed. But if you wanted to tell us not to do that, we would have adhered to that as well. So, and it would have taken some form of motion to suggest to us that policy doesn't apply in this situation.
Okay.
I think it clearly does, but.
All right, so what I'm gathering here from tonight, it doesn't sound like there's a support here to change the policy, if I'm correcting, unless I hear a motion otherwise.
Well, I would ask that usually when you do a pilot, you spell out in advance what the criteria is going to be to assess whether or not that pilot was successful. And when you do that, I would urge that you consider a different way of reimbursing than the IRS requirements, because I don't think $1.05 or whatever it was a day is enough to compensate the county for allowing somebody to
I
come
mean,
work.
make it clear, it's not, that's not to compensate the county. That would be imputed income. We would have to report that as income to the employee for the use of the vehicle. They're not intended to, it's not intended to compensate.
But it's pretty cheap, Jim.
It's very, it's
Cheap
very
transportation.
It's very, I absolutely agree, and frankly, would not have used that as the basis, but it is available, and it's the comparable county that uses that method is Grand Traverse County. And that was our resource, or comparable, if you will, considering this.
All right. Go ahead, Kathy.
And would it be, I think since we are going to be paying the FICA match on the $1.50 per trip, that we say that you are going to implement the commuting valuation rule? Because it is an additional cost. There, it's an
That's the only-
imputed income to the employee. They will have withholding of FICA on their side. We have a liability of the match on our side. So there is additional cost with regard to this, adopting the commuting valuation rule.
Any questions or objections or?
So when you say trip, that's
One way is $1.50, so
$3 a day.
$3 a day. So in a
Why is it
week,
so
if
cheap
it's,
for us, but yet private sector, they're paying like $35 a day.
well, the IRS valuation
under
is
the IRS,
$1.50.
yeah.
It says
I thought
$1.50.
that's pretty cheap, and in private sector, most people are paying about $35 a week.
There are different rules in this fringe employer's guide, and I know some of them also include parking, and
This is straight through back to work, so.
yeah.
I know that's what Elmer's, so that's what the guys at Elmer's, they gotta pay $35 a week to take a vehicle home.
They are,
On the
it's,
IRS.
they're given $35
Yeah.
on their taxable. Interesting.
All right.
Do you need that motion to enact this policy? I mean, the policy's been in effect forever.
Right.
We're gonna go.
Well, I thought that's what you were asking for, right?
No.
Just approval to spend the money. No,
So you,
am I okay? Okay, I guess I'm okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make
We have
sure.
everything in place, so I think it's fine, so.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to vehicle purchase.
So this other item relates to our ongoing vehicle issue. So again, I have 5 inspectors. I do have 5 vehicles. One of those vehicles is listed in the spreadsheet I gave you guys, the spare vehicle. It's a 2016 Ford Escape. It has a lot of miles on it, and it's the spare vehicle for a reason. The spare vehicle we just received notice will be ready for pickup from the auto repair place, but it is really meant to be the spare. So I'm looking to replace that vehicle. I've included a couple different quotes in here for you all to look at. Any one of those 3 vehicles will meet the needs of my department. 2 of them are local, one of them's downstate. The one out of Grand Rapids is a part of the My Deal. The other 2 are not. So that's what that's all about.
All right.
And it-
Questions?
oh, and I think that came as a recommendation out of Building Safety Committee, if I am correct.
I do believe Commissioner Mike can speak to that because he's the chair of that building safety. There was no recommendation necessarily from that because we wanted another quote, didn't we?
No, we were waiting for the quotes. We didn't have those at that time, and you were gonna find out from, I think, Lauren, if, what is it,
The My Deal.
the state, yeah.
Yeah, so I did get the quotes and I revisited everything with the administrator and finance and was told, bring it collectively rather than go to the committee again. So that's why I brought it here.
The only one I see in here is the Chevy Colorado. Is that the only one that? The only one I see?
There's a Chevy Colorado from Williams. That was a 1-page document. There's a Chevy Colorado. That one was a couple pages. And then there's a Tacoma at the end of the packet.
Rollins?
I have a question. I don't know if you remember our conversation back in March, when we were looking for a vehicle for Mr. Roman, drain commissioner. And I presented to you an idea that we take one of your high mileage vehicles, give to Mr. Roman, since he has to put mileage on, and give you a brand new vehicle every March. And you said no, because you were all set on vehicles. Here it is 3 months later, and they're ordering a vehicle. I'm a little confused.
So to your point, I didn't have an employee at the time. I didn't have a reason to do that. And then I had a new hire and I needed to be using the vehicle more consistently. I had everything set up for that employee except the equipment he needed to do his job, because I didn't figure I'd get that position filled even within the 6 months. The way it was looking, I figured it was going to be a year, year and a half, and having to go contractual route. So I didn't see the need for it at the time because I didn't have a need for it at the time.
That really is one of the reasons that I really advocate that we do a fleet management program that addresses those issues. We make these purchases on a planned basis rather than a ad hoc basis. I think I don't like doing it this way, but I didn't feel as though we were in a position to wait until we could propose a fleet management program to you to purchase this vehicle. So,
I hope that you will present a fleet management. We did that a couple of years ago and it made tremendous sense. So I support that. I am not going to make a statement about a truck. I'm not a truck exercise.
All right, do we have a vote or questions, Mr. Bunny?
Yeah, well, I would make a motion that we authorize the purchase of the Tacomas. And I think here it says that the final price would be 45,000, but with that's what's an additional service contract of $3,790 some dollars. And I think it would be, I guess I don't know what the final price would be without that, but I would say with a maximum of the $45,365.55.
Support.
All right, made, supported, discussion?
Is there any way to live along until we do our budget?
Not at present, given the trend going on right now. Mr. Dyer alluded to it, but for this entire month so far, I had a Ranger out of commission because the transmission blew up in it.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
fixed though, right?
just fixed, and then the escape went out. So it's only a matter of time before that escape. Thank you. Yes, it's on its last leg there.
Why are we looking at a Tacoma for 46,000 when for 41,000 we could get a Chevy?
That's why there's 3 options here. I will defer to whatever you all.
Well,
$5,000.
we were looking at the purchase price of one.
46 and 41.
This is a breakup too, what that is.
And we went through this last time.
Okay.
We're saving $7,000.
All right. Any other discussion on that?
Is this the cheapest one we're voting on or not?
I don't think it's the cheapest one. I think it's the best price for the things that they're doing. You can already see the Rangers, they've had trouble with that. The Tacomas are older and not having a problem at all. I'm trying to go with what's best, not necessarily what's cheapest.
I guess so, just so I'm understanding correctly, what are the 3 different prices in here?
So the Williams Chevy Colorado came in at just a little over 41. The this is a,
I think it's Schwab.
yeah, the other one is from Grand Rapids. That's a Colorado. That's 40,000, but it doesn't, that total listed there doesn't include the cover. So it'd be an additional $500 on that. So it'd be 41.
41.2.
Yep. And then the Toyota Tacoma comes to 45,365 and 55 cents.
And I'm looking at her quote, this Tacoma includes a service contract, and I'm not sure these two do.
I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on that motion? All right, if not, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 6-1. All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Short break. In 5 minutes, and I'm gonna strictly enforce it.
Yes, got it.
Slow progress.
You doing? Yeah. Yeah.
Slow progress. Why do we do this?
How you doing, Jim?
I sat in on the other meeting. Pushed to me, I don't know what that policy, I keep hearing 15 minutes.
I'll bring it up.
Okay. Looking happy.
First come, first served. Right.
3 minutes. 3 minutes. You need
Counting.
You need a little light like you're at the theater.
Where's our timer?
Yeah, 3 more minutes.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, that would've been a good one. I'll be call for everybody.
Waiting so long, I got.
Yeah.
The last thing you get to say.
Okay. Oh, what was her?
I was later on.
Yes.
That's what I said. This is. That'd be one of the first.
All right, now you're the one back and everybody else is going.
I know, hey, I listen.
I'm just saying this, when I went out looking for kid size farms. Chevy. My consumers. Works. I didn't like it, so I didn't buy it. Good, what's up? Just here for the fun. I think
I think it should be pushing it in the proper funds as our policy.
I know, but that's what those guys.
I think we need to put more, actually, but I just think we need to follow our policy. What are you?
Something comes out. And you can't put all back in the truck or somebody needs it.
Yep.
So that's the kind of stuff that comes out.
Well, I know that there was a policy, and I know that these types of things were looked at. These policies does a good job. You can't count for anything, honestly, $1 million. I used to all worry about the GM or
Ready, Michelle? We're back in session. We're on to item number 2, administration, Parks and Rec, proposed mission statement.
Got Charlie got the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission. I'd like to address the reason that they are proposing a change in the mission statement. As I recall, this became an action item rather than a consent agenda item, because there was some question as to whether the last sentence of the policy or the mission statement was necessary. So.
And I mean, I watched the video from last week's meeting, and I picked up on that. The main reason for the last sentence of the thing is to differentiate the difference between the actual park physical facilities and the programs that are put on at the parks. To say that it's really critical that we have this collaborative effort with the other community agencies and members of the community to actually put on the programs, because without them, there would be no programs at the parks. There would be no soccer, there would not be any baseball, there wouldn't be any disc golf tournaments, there wouldn't be, the stuff that's going on at Old Settlers, the 4th of July flag raising, the Old Settlers annual picnic, which is the 132nd year. Without the collaborative effort between those organizations and the Parks Commission, they wouldn't get done. So that's why that sentence is in there, really, is to do that differentiation and to highlight the collaborative requirement. And that's why it's included in the mission statement.
All right, we have a motion.
I recommend that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners adopt the proposed Parks and Recreation mission statement as presented.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Algar. Discussion. Commissioner Money.
Yeah, I believe that that excludes things. When you start naming things that you're gonna support, you're saying you're not gonna support other things. That's why I don't think that an action item in a mission statement is inappropriate, because it starts excluding things. And I don't think that's the purpose of our Park and Recreation. So I would recommend that we eliminate that last sentence, because it does start excluding things.
It's really just to say to accomplish, we have these two things. Not really that it's an action statement, because there's a whole other action statement in the master plan. This was supposed to be part of the master plan, but when we ended up the meeting for which this was supposed to be reviewed and approved to be part of the master plan that we submitted in January, that meeting didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't approve it to be included in the master plan. So if you look at the master plan right now, it simply has a statement that says the mission statement is being revised. And that's what was submitted and sent to the state. So that's why this is coming before you now at this later time. I don't see that paragraph actually excludes anything. If somebody wants to come to us and say, we'd like to collaborate with you to put on concerts at the park on Friday afternoons or Thursday nights at Old Settlers Park, we will gladly collaborate for them to do that. So it's a matter of the organization being a collaborative effort between us and somebody else without excluding anything.
But if someone says this isn't, someone on your board says this is not in the mission statement, so we can't do it. Let's just say it doesn't even say sports in that mission statement. If someone says those sports are not in our mission statement, so we can't support them, they could stop by doing that.
Again, it doesn't specifically state any particular sports. If somebody wants to come in and start doing rugby at one of our parks and we've got the facilities and the thing to do it, let's put in rugby.
I'm not arguing that. I'm
Okay.
saying if you're at your meeting and someone on the Park and Rec Commission says that's not included in our mission statement, so we can't do it. What do you say about that?
I would tell them it is included in our mission statement because our mission statement doesn't exclude anything.
All right, any other discussion? All right, not all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 6-1. All right, next up, we have, thank you.
Thank you.
Charles.
Next up, we have item number B, which is early childhood program, car seat program.
Yes, just the comments that I'll make are really applicable to both, both potential motions, but we wanted to have them separately considered. The main information that you wanted was information about what the current fund balances are, what the contract amount currently exists, and that sort of thing. And that data shows that our current budgeted amount for that is $728,500. Of that, we've received $157,26 in requested reimbursement for the health department, about 20%, which is about what you would expect we would be at year to date. The current fund balance is $1.224 million, but that you'd have to subtract out of that the unrequested budget amount. So really, in reality, we're looking at about a $700,000 fund, existing fund balance that also is our cash balance, as I understand, Kathy, correct? In addition, currently for the 2004 year, the early childhood millage was set at 0.20, and that produced $789,000, about a little bit more than the actual full amount of the 2004 budgeted contract. The maximum amount that you could levy in 2025, we checked with Kathy, actually obtained from the equalization department, would be 0.2486 mils. That would produce $1,046,000 roughly. So you're in a position where you will not even to fulfill the contract that you are currently obligated for, and the additions that are proposed in both of these motions, you would not even have to allocate the full amount of the millage to do so, and you'd have very significantly adequate fund balance to continue. It's my view that fund balance for a millage supported program is important, but it's less important than a general fund project, general fund within our general fund, because if the millage, for whatever reason, were to fail, the program basically goes away, and you can support the program until you spend out your fund balance. But with your general fund, if you have a problem with general fund balance, you really do need that money, because you don't have, that's your only millage to support your general operations. So I think both of these proposals, if you were to accept them, you'd be well within the amount that would be reasonable given the authorized millage, and you wouldn't even have to go to the full amount authorized.
Mr. Algar,
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners amend the agreement for early childhood services with the Benzie Leelanau Health Department to provide for an infant car seat purchase program as presented, appropriate an annualized total of $36,000 to fund the program, and authorize all necessary budget amendments.
supported by Commissioner Robbins, discussion?
One of the reasons that they chose the car seat program is that they're expensive. Every new baby needs one, and it's a way to get the news out and contact more people with newborns, so that they know about the program and what is available to them. So I think it's a good idea. It's a creative idea.
Discussion? Mr. Bunny?
Yeah, when I talked with Michelle Klein about this, there's only 45% of the children in the county who are participating in this program. So that's why we did the smile, the dental care to try to get more children involved. Also, when I looked at vouchers, and she's still looking at that, to try to get more people involved in it. And also to, and they came up with this set price for the car seat. So we're hoping that this program can become more, have more children involved and more use it. And we can see better results, because right now, not getting the results that we want to see after 5 years and spending $3.5 million. So I'm hoping that getting more children involved, we can increase it and make it improve it.
Mr. Russell?
Yeah, I don't agree with, or disagree with the fact that we want to get more than 45%. I think Commissioner Bunnick is referring to getting the results. We had a report from a dentist earlier this year. We can't look at high school graduation rates of students that have been in the pipeline forever. This program has only been in existence for 4 years. And most of those kids aren't even in kindergarten yet, let alone high school graduation. So I think we have to be careful how we interpret the presentation that we received from the dentist. And if we really want to take a look at the impact of the program, there are a lot of other indicators to look at.
You're just picking one. I'm talking about, they were at 4th grade. It's only 48% of the kids can read at 4th grade level. All of them have been through the program.
Okay, Commissioner Bessel?
That's staff art. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all.
Certainly, all of the fourth graders have been in the program. The program has been in existence for 4 years. 2 of those years were COVID years. And most of the kids were 1 and 2 years old when they went into that program. So they're certainly not on the rolls of fourth grade test results and reading scores.
All right, Mr. Walter?
Are we talking about child car seats or the Smiles program? Because the motion is
It's Carson.
the car seat. So let's say I'm having, the meeting won't last 4 hours.
All right, any other discussion on that motion? Not, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. All right, so we have the unmet needs funds.
Basically, what I indicated previously also applies to this. You're well within the resources available to provide this program as suggested.
Okay. I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners amend the agreement for early childhood services with the Mexican Leelanau Health Department to provide for an unmet needs program as presented, appropriate an annualized total of $20,000 to fund the program and authorize all necessary budget amendments.
Second.
By Commissioner Robbins, discussion? Mr. Campbell?
I have a real hard time voting yes for this, because I don't know of any unmet needs. I think everybody has unmet needs, and I don't know where that ends, honestly. We're not talking about means testing, we're just talking unmet needs. So I guess you walk in and say you have an unmet need and you walk out with a check. That is such an expansion of this program that it makes that it makes all these other rules and regulations and things, it just kind of makes a mess out. I can tell you, we're talking about fund balances for early childhood, and they have increased. We've got we have the audit tonight, and I went back and looked at the last 2 audits to compare, because I think it's more important to know where you're going if you don't understand exactly what this number means in history. And the fund balance 2 audits ago was 325,000. Last year was 425,000. This is for the previous audit year. This year it's 648,000. So there is no doubt that the conversation started by Mr. Bunnick is really important. He is one of his prime projects that he talked about, and which I agreed with, is a project to help pay for actual child care for parents. I think that if we keep nibbling away at this, that project is going to end up getting just no room at the table for it. And in particular, I know there's only $20,000 here. Okay, well, no one knows how long that'll last. There's no parameters for what we're trying to accomplish with this. So I just can't vote yes for a fund that just doesn't seem to have any rules attached to it.
Sure.
Being on the health board, I would like to share that the people in the health department are the most careful users of any funds they have. They are incredibly careful. They have more rules than I've ever heard of about how money is used. So I am very confident, but if you would like, I will bring some information to you. They will be exceedingly careful about distributing that money. And I'd also want to just restate, so people understand, there has to be a considerable fund balance in January because new taxes do not come in for 3 or 4 months, and they have to have enough money to operate for 3 or 4 months at the end of every year. So the number sounds bigger than it actually is. if they were at 0 in January, we'd be in trouble. Well,
The number, that's why I wanted context to say what it was at the same period in time for 3 straight years. And in 3 straight years, it's gone from 325 to 648, whatever I said. So that's the trend. And so I agree fully with the idea that I think if you ask most folks and people with young family, what is the biggest obstacle? They aren't all gonna say the same thing, but I gotta believe that help finding childcare and affording it is gonna be in their top tier. And so I just don't wanna nibble this thing away to the point that we can't start a program to at least see if we can make a difference. And like I said, I'm not saying the health department doesn't spend their money wisely. I'm saying that we have a program before us with absolutely no parameters. So I'm not sure what their guidelines are for this.
Mr. Money?
Yeah, I never talked with Michelle about this 20,000. I don't know if she mentioned it here when she was here, last week. I think she might have mentioned it, but I didn't know that we were even going to have a motion. With it, and I don't remember us passing it last week, this motion for unmet needs. I think this is, and I don't see it as a late addition.
I concur with Administrator Dyer, and we just drafted that. That is not from the amendments, correct? And that is just a suggested motion. It doesn't mean you need to go with that. It was just a filler there.
Yeah, so I don't know that it's not even on our agenda, but yeah, it's here as a motion, and I
If
don't
you
think.
recall, there was a sheet that she handed out that at the last meeting that addressed these issues. For example, some of the things that were these payments are not directly to the applicant, or to a provider. For one thing, there is a needs testing for it. That's one that they already use. Part of their contract, but this was intended because they didn't think they were in a position either financially or operationally to start a child care program, which we did discuss. And I don't know that there's 100% agreement, even among board members, that that's something that the board would want to pursue. If you direct us to work on that, the money, there would be money there. You'd have to allocate the full amount of the 0.2486 millage, I think, to accomplish it, but that could get you about another $350,000, which would be dead if that's the direction you want to go. But I think you need to decide that direction first. And I think I would speak for Michelle and say, I hope that you would at least consider this unmet needs program to give them the opportunity to, it's really frankly another outreach method, really more than anything else. Do something for somebody that doesn't need a vaccine.
I could support this if it was for a voucher system of, as opposed to unmet needs for childcare, that they could use. But as far as just unmet needs, I just think that it really isn't appropriate even on this agenda, unless it is for vouchers.
Can I just add something? I do remember being a young single parent with a couple of toddlers. And let me tell you, I had unmet needs. I sure would have appreciated help with not only car seat, but it's a long time since we've had young babies, but most people with young children, there are things that they have to do for these babies that cost money. And if we could lend a helping hand, saying there are no unmet needs is kind of floors me.
I said exactly the opposite.
Mr. Walter?
Yeah. There's no parameters of what an unmet need is. There's no parameters of how to qualify for an unmet need. I mean, it's allocating $20,000 that we don't know what we're allocating to. And I don't, you know, whether we have the fund balance or not, you know, it doesn't seem responsible without a set parameter to use. I don't see what are we using this money for, and we need to have a fiscally responsible monitoring of how we spend this tax dollars. It's not our money, and now we're talking about $20,000 on that needs. Well, who decides that? What is that? So, I mean, we need to dig deeper in this before we approve money that we don't know where it's going. It's like a bridge to nowhere.
Any other discussion? All right, I guess, yeah, I had a question as far as what I've looked at our previous agenda to see where and maybe it was on the amended part, because I know we amended our agenda last week, so I thought maybe it was part of that, but I was trying to recall where unmet needs, because I do have concerns about that as well. It's like unmet, that could qualify for anything, I guess, so it'd be nice to have more itemized as what is unmet, I guess, that'd be my question, but that's just my statement, so.
We can ask for more. Michelle.
We have a motion and a second on the.
Right. Commissioner Wessel?
Well, and I understand the concerns about not having all of the details, but I've worked long enough with the parent and community staff and Michelle Klein to know that they know what an unmet need is. They know how to do priorities. And it might be a mental health need, it might be a physical health need, but they will not waste our $20,000. And I think then when Michelle's here next month, give her report, I think she's scheduled next month, then we can get more details about what we want to do next year. But right now, she's saying to do her program, she could use $20,000 for unmet needs, and she will use it wisely. And so will her staff of 5.
They are incredibly careful.
All right, any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, motion fails 3-4.
Let's go through this. The 4 no's are Yoder, Campbell, Walter, Bonnie.
Yeah, don't want that as a mistake, right?
Correct. We'll ask for more details.
That would be great. Yeah, I think that would be wonderful. All right, next up, we have a waiver of conflict and joint RFP, medical examiner. Just want the waiver of conflict.
I'll deal with this. These are really 2 joint items. Waiver of conflict is to permit our legal counsel to basically represent both sides in the preparation of an RFP. They've already done so. And originally based upon a waiver of the conflict by myself and the Grand Traverse County Administrator. They've recognized that that was probably inadequate to do so, and we're asking you to waive the conflict so we can proceed with approving the joint RFP for medical examiner services. I did provide in my last written report to you last meeting the indication that this was going to be coming to you. Grand Traverse County is going to be voting on this tomorrow night. Basically, it is a proposal, not so much on whether we're going to be doing, whether we're going to have them, whether they're going to provide medical examiner service to us by contract, and how they're going to do that by eliminating basically their employees and having the entire program by a turnkey operation. They're currently, the doctors are already provided by non-employees, they're the doctors at the pathology department of Western Michigan University's Homer Stryker Medical School. And the other clerical and investigative employees are currently employees of Grand Traverse County. This, the RFP request, the expectations that they'll get a bid to provide that service 100%. That makes sense.
Commissioner Wessel?
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners waive any and all possible conflict of interest and permit both Stoker and Gossett to jointly represent Leelanau and Grand Traverse counties regarding the joint RFP for medical examiner services and authorize the county board chair to sign the waiver of conflict and consent to representation regarding medical services request for proposals as presented.
Supported by Commissioner Rollins. Discussion? All right, not all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0.
I appreciate Clerk Michelle Crocker pointing out the need to take that action.
All right, next up with the joint RFP, medical examiner services.
Move the County Board of Commissioners approve the joint RFP for medical examiner services as presented in authorized Grand Traverse County approval of the contract case upon the joint RFP and continue to provide medical service examiner service to Leelanau County and authorize the board chair to sign the documents necessary to implement the RFP and continue the medical examiner service.
Supported by Commissioner Wessel. Discussion? If not, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 7-0. All right, next up, we have the Housing Action Committee recommendation. And I'm going to recommend that we understand there's only one item we have on this tonight's agenda. I'm going to recommend that we move that to August because we already have something on that we, at our last executive session, recommended that we take it up in August. So I think it'd be better if we just table this and move it to August. That way everything can be done at one and hopefully can have more information that our administrator can provide for us by then. And have a full discussion at that point, if that's okay with everybody.
I'll second that motion.
Don't know if I
I just would vote on it today. I mean, it should have passed before, but we're trying to put all three of them. I'm not sure why it needs to go. I mean, I think everyone's in agreement that we're gonna move on from that. Right? I mean,
We haven't agreed that we're gonna move on until we see the whole package.
Right, we don't have all information, so that's why I'm requesting that it just be all forwarded to August, and we can have a full-blown discussion and have more information on everything, rather than just.
Table this till August.
of course,
It's been moved and supported. Discussion? All right, if not, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries.
I just don't see a reason to delay that
I
decision.
believe it was Commissioner Rollins, were you the second? Or was it Wessel?
Wessel.
Commissioner Wessel. All right, and then the next up, item number 3, we have Board of Commissioners 4-month administrative review. This is something that I had, that I requested to be put on the agenda based on our administrator's contract, something that as a board we are able to do. And I just think being 4 months into his role as administrator here, I think it's wise to do a review, just as a board. I think it would help us, it would help our administrator out. And just kind of get, have a feeling for that. And kind of, I guess what I'm proposing is, I will put something together, as far as a review goes. I will send it out to each commissioner, with that review, and then everybody has a chance to fill out that form and send it back to me, solely. Obviously, don't, just individually, however you want to do that, and then I will come up with, or I will condense all of the answers that everybody gave there, and then we'll present it at the August meeting. To go over that, and I would ask our administrator to do a self-review as well, to take part in that process as well, and that'll be a part of the August meeting as well. So that's something that, I think after the first of the year, I think it'd be wise to even do a full-blown, evaluation then. I think this is more of just a review, and then have an evaluation where it's more in depth, I guess. So, but I just think it'd be wise to do a review. Would help this board out, would help our administrator, and it just, it would help us all out, I believe, so. I do believe we can have a motion, I guess, or is that just, I guess I forgot to ask the clerk that beforehand, if we needed an official motion on that or not.
I move that we accept the commission chair's recommendation and respond accordingly.
Second.
All right, so moved and supported, discussion. Commissioner Algar?
When the discussion at the meeting will be, I think I would prefer a closed session.
That'll be up to our administrator whether he wants to do that or not. So that's not something that as a board, obviously we'll have a vote on that, but if he requests to have a closed session, that's up to him. As to how we would just pursue that or to just have an open dialogue, yes. So that'd be up to our administrators how he wants to handle that. Doesn't.
Via written, you're going to provide questions to us.
Correct, yeah, it'll be the document with 10 different questions. Then you can rate it as you see fit, and then I will condense those ratings down and present it to you.
And those ratings will end up being open to the public.
So wish you up, I talked with legal counsel today and we'll proceed with that as best they see fit, yeah, so.
Did you just say yes? I couldn't quite get what you said. I mean, my understanding from being on the other side is that when you do an evaluation like that, that it is a public document.
Right, it'll be foilable, yes.
Okay.
Or it'll be, you know, open to the public, whether that's, I'll let our FOIA coordinator coordinate with that, but based on talking to our attorney today, that will be foilable to my understanding, whether in full or in part or whatever.
And my only, my last thought might be that there is room to, rather than just rate, or however you do that, to explain our thoughts.
Yes, on there will be a spot where you can rate and then offer comments as well. Any other discussion on that? All right, if not, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those say nay. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you. Now I'll try to have that out to everybody in the next couple of days. Off there. All right, next up we have item number 4. We have an audit presentation from Mr. Peacock.
Some new faces here in Leelanau County. So I'll give you guys some business cards. I know who I am. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. I know you know how to find me, Ty.
Some new old faces.
Some new old faces.
One new face.
Always good to see you.
Yep, sure. Yep.
Oh.
Oh, thank you. So Kathy just passed out. We're going to go over that last. Okay. So most of you have received this document, the big beefy audit report that we have. Well, first of all, my name is Steve Peacock. I'm a partner at Raymond, representing the firm on behalf of the audit performed for 12/31/2024. This document has been filed with the state of Michigan already, so it is on file with the state. It has been timely filed. And this is my time to tell you kind of what this document means. And when I was talking with Mr. Dyer about how long the presentation would go, some of you have seen me do this in 30 minutes and some of you see me go an hour and a half. So I'm going to start off with a 30 to 40 minute type deal. If you guys have questions, feel free to stop me along the way. I am here all night. I just have to be at the airport by 7:30 tomorrow morning. So that's, you have me as long as you want me.
You should have maybe not mentioned that.
All right, so let's start with the big document. Go on to page 1. It's the first letterhead page that has the Raymond's letterhead on it. That is the independent auditor's report. You, as the board, hire Raymond. We do not work for the administration. We work for the board. Very clear delineation in the audit standards that the audit firm cannot work for anybody with an administration. We have to work for the board. So that's why you see on the very top there, this is addressed to the Board of Commissioners. So this audit report is a standard audit report. issued on May the 29th, which was when the financial statements were reasonably ready for issuance. So on the 29th of May, this document was issued and it was filed shortly thereafter with the state. So let's just talk about what these paragraphs, I'll put them in layman's terms as best I can, just to make sure we don't have to sit here and read all these documents. The first paragraph talks about the fact that we have audited the financial statements of Leelanau County as of December 31st, 2024. The next paragraph is our opinion, and this is what you pay us for, is that paragraph. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects, the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the aggregate discretely presented component units, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the county as of December 31st, 24. And the respective changes in financial position and where applicable cash flows and the respective budgetary comparisons for the general fund and each major special revenue fund for the year that ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the US. It's a very long-winded paragraph that says this is a clean audit. Okay, that is the highest level of assurance that we can place on financial statements. So that is a clean audit. The last paragraph talks about governmental accounting standards and how we employ those in performing our audit. On to page 2, very top, management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements. So these are not Raymond's. These belong to the county. Our responsibility is to issue an opinion thereon. Okay. The next bold paragraph or bold caption talks about the independent auditor's responsibility in the performance of an audit. You go down towards the bottom, there are several items that we do in an audit, but some of the most pervasive: exercise professional judgment and maintain skepticism, identify and assess risk, obtain understandings of internal control, evaluate appropriateness of accounting policies, and then conclude in our judgment if there's any substantial doubt about the county to continue for another year, which we do not have any concern of. Page 3, middle of the page, required supplementary information, the management's discussion analysis that's before all the financial statements. That is the Governmental Accounting Standard Board's way of trying to put the 140-page document into layman's terms. So that is written so it's not accounting-esque. It's easier for a non-accounting person to understand, as well as the pension information that follows after the footnotes. So if you look at the very last sentence in that paragraph, we do not express an opinion or provide any assurance on the information because of limited procedures do not provide us with sufficient evidence to express an opinion or provide any assurance. That's on the MD&A and that's on the pension information. Okay. Last paragraph, supplementary information, last sentence in that paragraph. In our opinion, that combining an individual fund financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in relation to the basic financial statements taken as a whole. That is all the supplemental material that follows the footnotes. It has the 80 different funds on there. They're all generally very small. That report right there talks about what we did with that, and our audit report covers those small funds. Okay. On the back on page 4, that paragraph refers the reader that there is another set of audit opinions, and we will get to those shortly. Those are the audit reports for the uniform guidance, or what we used to call the single audit. On to page 17, if we could. Governments are required to present 2 balance sheets and 2 income statements under 2 different bases of accounting. This page 17 is balance sheet number 1. This is going to show all of your assets, your liabilities, and your net position, which is basically assets minus liabilities. Working from the total column, second one from the right or from the left, only because I exclude the component units because that's almost entirely the road commission, and that has a separate audit report issued thereon. So I generally don't talk about the component unit in this particular presentation. So working from the total column, you'll see total assets of the county of $49.9 million, comprised principally of 3 areas: cash of $22.7 million, receivables due from various third parties, $9,891,000. And then you have capital assets of about $1,500,000, $1,600,000 out there that are, some are being depreciated and some are not. So those are the 3 main compositions of your assets. You have normal trade liabilities such as accounts payable, accrued liability, unearned revenue, bonds payable, and then you've got a big $7.5 million pension liability, which we'll get to in a minute. We'll talk about that. And then you've got some deferred inflows, which is principally taxes that were levied for a subsequent period that were collected prior to the end of the year. But if I were sitting in your chairs, what number means the most to me? Second line from the bottom under the total column, unrestricted net position, $14.6 million. That is a very healthy county. You have a very healthy unrestricted net position as a county, and you have for a long period of time. And that's all the work that goes on at this board and the people in the county and the citizens who live here, just like me. Best place on earth to live. So our county reflects that financially. On to page 18, and I'm going to go along quickly. So if you guys need to stop me, just stop me. On to page 18, this is income statement number 1. It looks very different in case any of you may have spent some time in the commercial world. This looks very, very different from what you would see in a normal P&L. Starting out with expenses, you see the total expenses. You can ignore the bottom 4 lines because those are the component units. $26 million of primary government expenditures, and then you start applying revenues going across charges for service, operating grants, capital grants. So there was a net expense of $20,116,904. Rolling over to page 19, you will see that $20,116,904 carry over. Then we start applying items such as property taxes. Grants and contributions, you see those listed there. Unrestricted investment earnings, gains on sales of capital assets, and any applicable transfers. So again, a takeaway from this financial statement is if you look at the 3rd line from the bottom, this is the overall, I'm going to say net income, but in government world is revenues in excess or expenses in excess of revenues. So under the governmental activities, you had expenses in excess of revenues of $1,156,000. Under your business type activities, you had a net revenues in excess of $366,000. Overall, you had a $789,000 revenues, expenses in excess of revenues. So still a very healthy fund balance, a net position of $37.2 million at the end of the year. That was in balance sheet and income statement number 1. Balance sheet number 2 appears on page 20. And I generally only speak to the first column, which is the general fund, which is the bulk of the activity as it relates to governmental funds. We'll talk about this in just a minute. So total assets in the general fund of $11,371,000 comprised principally of cash and investments of 9.6. You do have some restricted cash and you've got some receivables, but that's primarily a cash and receivable balance sheet on the asset side. On the liability side, you've got your trade accounts payables, accrued liabilities, unearned revenue. Again, takeaway for me on the bottom, 3rd line from the bottom, unassigned fund balance in your general fund of $9.7 million. Again, that's a very healthy county. Yes, absolutely.
Our young child program is not listed among those.
It's in here. It'd be the governmental activities, but it's going to be in one of these monster, all these different spreadsheets in the back.
I'm just surprised it wasn't with senior services. That's all.
Yep, it'll be broken out into the funds in the back. So, yep. All right. So you've now seen 2 balance sheets. On page 23 is the reconciliation between the 2 balance sheets. It's basically a cash basis of accounting to a modified accrual basis of accounting. You see all sorts of different items that flow through to this reconciliation. And we know that once the top line and the bottom line line up with the 2 different balance sheets, we're in good shape. So suffice it to say, there's a lot of detail here. I'm not going to bore you with that unless you want to jump into it feet first. On to page 24, this is our income statement number 2. This is again, same format. We just went through on the general fund, first column. This is going to be revenues and expenses, $19.5 million of total revenues raised by the county. 13.3 of that comes in the form of taxes. 4 million is intergovernmental. And then you have $1,023,000 of charges for services. Those are the main components of your revenue. And then you see the expenses, and it goes by a functional classification. We are required by the Michigan Treasury Manual to put this into the functional category rather than a natural category, which would be payroll, benefits, utilities, stuff like that. This format that's on the left-hand side, this is prescribed by the state, so we have to follow that. So you'll see total expenditures of the general fund of 19,096,000, revenues in excess of 389, overall transfers, net transfer in of 168, shows your change in fund balance of 558,000 to the good. So good news on that. On page 27, this is a further very similar format to the balance sheet reconciliation. This is your reconciliation between the two income statements. Very similar composition of items that are on these lists. So if you look at the balance sheet recon, it's going to look similar to the income statement reconciliation. So this, again, once we know we get our top number, we know what our bottom number is going to be. We work our way through things such as fixed assets, bond payments, various items that are not necessarily cash basis, that might be accrual basis. Okay. All right, pages 28 through 30. This is the same format that we talked about earlier with the financial statements, but it's busted out individual line items. So you'll see on page 29, under the judicial, now you see all the different departments that are expenditures are being charged to, okay? One thing you want to make sure from the commissioner's perspective, on the right-hand side, most of your accounts, hopefully all, are underspent. So when you see the final budget and you see the actual column, you want to be underspent. Because if you're even overspent by even $1, we are required by the state rules to report that to the state. There's no materiality, $1 over gets reported. The great news for 2024, if you go through all of these, there were no amounts that were over. So that shows some very prudent budgeting, monitoring, and adjusting when needed to happen. So we didn't have any budget overages in 2024 in the general fund, and that's a big hats off to everybody up on the front here and the folks in the back. So that's good news. All right, on page 31, I'm generally not going to talk about 31 and 32. On page 33, this is your proprietary funds. This is going to be your primarily your unpledged delinquent tax revolving fund. Again, speaking from the total column, which is the second from the left, overall assets of $9.2 million, and 8.2 of that is cash and cash equivalents. And the rest of that is primarily delinquent tax receivable. And in the total column, continuing on down, we got normal liabilities for accounts payable, accrued liabilities and so forth. But if you look at the second line from the bottom, unrestricted net position in your proprietary funds of $9.1 million. That is a very positive fund balance. On to page 34, this is an income statement for your proprietary funds. What you really want to pay attention to under the total column is the 1 to 3rd subtotal or third underscored number. Operating income for both the delinquent tax revolving and the non-major funds had operating income of $574,000. Proprietary funds look, act, and smell like normal operating commercial companies. They're just titled proprietary funds in the governmental vernacular. So both of those two particular areas have generated $574,000 of earnings. You got some investment income, and then you did some transfers in and out. Overall change in the net position for your proprietary funds of $367,000, all to the good. And then we get into this weird thing called the cash flow statement. That's on page 35. This is proprietary funds are the only funds that have cash flow statements. Other funds do not. 35, the first subtotal, the first line that's underscored under net cash operated by operating activities. The theory behind this is as you raise revenue and pay expenses, does the operation generate cash? There's no proprietary fund is worth a lick of salt if it's not going to generate cash. So you'll see under the DTR, $1,719,000 of cash was generated. Non-major enterprise, 197, total of $9,117,000. So these funds are functioning, generating cash, and operating the way that we would expect to see them in a governmental world. Going down from the bottom, third line from the bottom, you see your net change in cash and cash investments. So your DTR went up by $1,600,000 on non-major enterprise by $86,000, total of $1,709,000. On to page 37, what is this thing called a fiduciary fund? This is for money that the county holds on behalf of somebody else. It's basically cash and cash investments, and it's due somewhere else. Could be payroll taxes, could be anything you can think of that the county would owe to another governmental unit. So that's what this is right here, as well as a little bit of sundry left 5523 for individual organizations or other entities. Page 38 shows the revenue in and the revenue out of your fiduciary funds. Primarily, the activity is going to be property tax collected and then settlements with your taxing units. As we talked about earlier at the very beginning, we talked about component units. Primarily the road commission on page 39 lists your component units. Road commission is the bulk of all these numbers. Brownfield development, land bank, and drainage districts are very, very small when you line that up next to the road commission. Total assets on the far right-hand column, $45.9 million of total assets for these component units. And you'll see $38 million of that is capital assets, both being depreciated and not being depreciated. And the remainder is represented by cash and receivables. $2,190,000 of liabilities, and that's going to be unearned revenue. That's going to be long-term debt, accounts payable, etc. But again, second line from the bottom, far right-hand corner, $3,538,344 overall unrestricted fund balance net position at the end of the year, which is again strong. As you look on page 40, these are your component units. This is not the income statement, a very condensed income statement. Third line from the bottom, working across from left to right. Road commission generated $927,000 in earnings, brownfield $38,000, land bank $54,000, and district drainage of $278,000. Overall increase of your fund balances as of 12/31/24 of $1,297,000. Okay, those are the basic financial statements that we are required under GASB to issue. Does anybody have any questions on those? They are very condensed from what you may see in a financial statements that come to you from the office. GASB smashes stuff together in certain piles, and we put them together in a financial statement and issue our report. Okay, so if you're looking for something very, very small, you may not find it in here. You're going to find it in all these little fund statements in the back. Okay. All right, let's get talking about the notes to the financial statement, which begin on page 42, and these go all the way back to page 79. Footnote number 1 on 42, if you look at the caption, it's the summary of significant accounting policies. You only adopted one policy this year, and it was GAS 101 for compensated absences. So that was pretty minuscule as far as of a new accounting principle, but it talks about the county, the history, the reporting entity, what it means. It defines your discretely presented component units. On to page 43, regional joint operations, health department, airport commission, and the district courts. And then if you're ever wondering why governments have to have 2 income statements and 2 balance sheets, at the bottom of 43, this discussion starts. So the bottom of 43, government-wide and fund financial statements, and that carries all the way over to the top of 46. That, if you guys are really having a rough time sleeping, that's where you start, because that'll tell you why they make you do that. Middle of page 46, now we start talking about some specific account flow transactions, assets, deferred outflows, liabilities, deferred inflows, and equity. So you'll see the accounting policies for deposits and investments, restricted cash and investments, receivables and payables. On to 47, we talk about leases. 48, we talk about prepaid items, inventory, capital assets, deferred outflows. And the board should know, again, there were no changes to these accounting policies during 2024. So what you've seen in years past and several years past has remained consistent. Compensated absences, the top of 49, long-term obligations round out that particular page. And 50 talks about your deferred inflows of resources and fund equity. And then at the bottom or at the top of 51, we talk about interfund transactions, pension-based accounting, and then the use of estimates. So at the bottom of 51, footnote number 2 talks about the budget, but flip it over to the top of page 52. second paragraph, last sentence. The county had no expenditures in budgetary funds which were in excess of the amounts budgeted. You're gonna get a gold star from the state on that one. Footnote number 3 goes in detail for your deposits and your investments, and that carries through for fair value disclosures, credit risk on page 53. At the top of 54, when you have some investments, they have to be classified in either levels 1, 2, or 3. And for those who don't know what that is, level 1 is the most liquid, level 2 is a medium level of liquidity, and level 3 is the least liquid in terms of if you had to get to it right today. So that's what that means at the top. On to page 55, the receivables footnote and the composition of the various receivables owed to the county. At the bottom of 55, the accounts payable and accrued liabilities owed from the county to somewhere else. Interfund receivables and payables and the respective transfers disclosure is on 56. 57, this is a roll forward of all your capital assets in the county showing beginning balances, additions, disposals, and transfers. And on 58 is your distribution of all depreciation expenses. Now, this is for the county. On page 59, if you look at the very top, component unit hyphen road commission, these are road commission numbers. There are certain numbers from a discretely presented component unit that must appear in the financial statements of the primary government. Road commission has a lot of fixed assets, and you'll see it here. There's $37 million of fixed assets. That's why this disclosure is in here. Not a lot of road commission stuff gets in here, but fixed assets are going to get in here. So same format as it was in the previous page talking about the county. On to page 61 is a roll forward of all of the debt that the county has showing your beginning balance, no additions during 24, your deductions with your ending balance and the amounts of the principal that's due within 1 year. All obligations are being paid according to term. 62, this has some disclosures of the business or the component units of the road commission, brownfield, and the drainage districts have some debt, so that's disclosed in there. And then you start going into the 5-year principal maturity tables at the bottom of 62 and all through 63. These are principal and interest obligations that are due for the upcoming 5 years. And once you go to 5, and they do it in increments of 5 years. So that's why where brownfield's listed, you've got 2030 to 33, because that's the last remaining 3 years after the 5. And that's on page 63. All right. On to page 64, risk management. This talks about a variety of risks that are associated with the county, with the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority, what their role plays for the county. That's fully disclosed in there. Workers' compensation reconciliation is at the top of 65. Footnote number 10 talks about contingent liabilities, and you'll read there that the county is always a party to the various lawsuits. So if you go to the last sentence on the bottom of the third paragraph under footnote number 10, no amounts for any potential liability have been recognized in the county's financial statement. So we correspond with your attorney and they give us an idea of if they think you're going to prevail or not. If they think you're not going to prevail, they'll give us a number. We'll look at a number and say, okay, is it material to the financial statements? If it is, it's got to get booked. If it's not, we would ignore it, but we have not recognized anything on the financial statements. Bottom of 65 talks about your property taxes over and all the way over to the top of 66. And I'm going to ignore pages 66, 67, 68, and go all the way to 69. And the reason why I'm ignoring that, there's a lot of narrative about these plans that you can read on your own, but there's 2 things I want to show you. On page 69, this is the county pension fund, far right-hand column, balances at December 31st, 2023. The overall pension obligation was $7,337,000 during the year. This is all information that comes from the audit firm who audits MERS. $2,770,000 of interest was earned. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth number down, there was an investment loss of $2,375,000. So your overall pension obligation stayed about the same at $7,509,000. Now, I tell you all this, but you have to understand this is all managed by MERS. So this is stuff that, as much as you would like to say change investment options and do this and do that, These are captured plans that are managed by MERS. They change all the different investment vehicles, they change their assumptions. So we are required to disclose this. And I'd love to see that number down to 0, but you're working on it. It's getting better. But if you have one bad year in the stock market, this could really, really affect it poorly. And if you had a great year in the stock market, it could really affect it positive. So from a sensitivity analysis, the table at the bottom, right now, all of the assets are discounted at 7.18%. That's the discount rate that MERS uses on this plan. Look at to the right and to the left. If that discount rate changes 1%, it goes to 8.18, that liability drops to 3.5 million. Look what it does if it goes down by a point. It goes to $12.2 million. So MERS is very dialed in on their discount rate, but that may change. They may change that going forward, and they have changed it. So when you see your MERS representative, I don't know when he or she shows up here, but you might want to ask them what their plans are for that.
Discount rate, that's their anticipated money they're gonna make.
Correct. Yep. And you can see the composition up on page 68, how this is disclosed.
So they're anticipating right now, they're gonna make over 7% on their investments. A heck of a lot better than I am.
Yep. Me too. And they've got a whole, when your MERS folks are here, you should talk to them about how they blend earnings and they blend capital gains and losses. There's a whole formula as to how they do it. All right. On to page 71, which is the exact same 6 pages about pensions, but this is all for the road commission. If you go to 73, far right-hand column on the table at the bottom, $434,000 was their obligation at the end of the prior year. 452, very similar plan to what happened to you guys. It didn't change a whole lot, but there was a big net investment loss in there, similar to what the county took. All right. On to page 75, talks about at the top, these are defined contribution plans for the road commission and deferred comp plans for the road commission. So I'm not going to go into a lot of that. Bottom of 75 is a further disclosure of the leases for the county and the 5-year maturity and each 5 years thereafter. And the table on page 76. Page 77 and the back on the top of page 78, that's a further detail of what is reserved in your fund balance. So you'll see things like prepaid expenses, long-term advances, indigent defense, gaming revenues, communication towers, recycling, et cetera. You'll see all those columns or all those various line items there. That is just a bigger breakout of what's been restricted in your fund balance. Footnote number 15 on page 78, that is a reconciliation of your net assets or net investment into capital assets. So you see all the capital assets there at the top. And where you have bonded obligations that are collateralized by those assets, you'll see those on the next section, coming down to a total investment in capital assets of 13.9 million and the road commission at 38. Page 79, footnote 16, last footnote. Opioid settlement talks in here about the various provisions of the opioid settlement. This is not a new footnote to the financial statements. If you look at the very last sentence in the very bottom paragraph, the net present value of the combined settlement payments to be received as of December 31st, 2024 is $527,000. Any questions on the footnotes? That? Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
So to be received as of 2024, that is not making any statement about what is still coming.
That would be the present value of any future payments that we know of today to be coming in. Now, if you read through the footnote, there's still litigation going on. Those that may go up. I don't think it's going to go down. It may end up going up. So, yes. All right, pages 82 and 83. My takeaway here, this is all the pension details we just went through. If you look at third line from the bottom, and I would stay focused on 2024 to 24. This is your funding percentage of your obligation under the MERS pension plan. 20, you were 90.8%, 95.4, 77.8, 81.3, 81.7. And those are going to be years where you've had significant earnings, and there's going to be years where you have significant losses. So that percentage is something that if I were in your chair, that's what I would pay attention to. You're still healthy. You're not below the 50%, which makes everybody a little nervous. You're anywhere from 75 to 90, which is good.
But it means we probably ought to budget some extra money this year for that, as we've done in the past year.
And I was just gonna go there on page 84. Thank you, Mr. Wessel. Second column there, going back all the way to 15, the actuarially determined contribution, that's the second column from the left. That's what your actuary tells you you have to pay to be in accordance with the state. What you've actually paid is the next column over. So you have had excess contributions to this plan every year since 2015. And I can honestly tell you that not any of my other clients have this streak in putting money away to the pension. So that's good. You're trying to get that caught up, and you're putting forth a good effort to do that. So. All right, page 86, 87, and 88. Those are the same tables related to the road commission. All right, now page 91 all the way back to the very end. Yep. Those are the combining and individual fund financial statements, and there is a lot of detail in there. I generally don't go into that because we could be here for 2 weeks talking about this, which I'm happy to do, but I might lose some of you guys in the translation. So you guys all have my business card. If you guys have any questions with respect to this, you can call me, email me. My cell phone number's on there, my email, everything in there to find me is available and at hand. So that is the financial statement. That's item number one. So item number two, you had to have a single audit again this year, and most clients of ours who got COVID money, all of a sudden, they may have gone years without having a single audit, and all of a sudden, cool, you have to have a single audit, which is an additional layer of governmentally issued audit procedures we have to perform over federal grant expenses. This is the document I want you to look at right here. Okay. It looks like this when you get it from us. And this page right here is actually in this document. But this is the easiest way to summarize the single audit. Section number one, summary of adult auditors' results. Financial statements, unmodified. Unmodified means that's a clean report. Internal control over financial reporting. We identified a material weakness, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There were no significant deficiencies and no non-compliance matters noted. In the single audit, the federal audit, were there material weaknesses identified? No. Were there significant deficiencies? Yes, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The type of report that was issued, it is an unmodified or a clean report. And then we had the findings that we had fell under 2 CFR 200, so that box is checked yes, because we had to report it that way. And as expected, the biggest bulk of your federal expenditures for 24 was the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. The $750,000 is the threshold to enter into the single audit world, which has just been modified to $1 million. So that's going up. And you do not qualify as a low risk auditee, primarily because you don't have a lot of single audits. Okay. So let's talk about the findings on page 11. 11 on what Kathy's passed out. Item 24, 2024-01, material audit adjustments in preparation of financial statements in accordance with GAAP. Many of you remember what happened when Enron went down and it took down Arthur Andersen, the big CPA firm, with them. The audit standards changed after Enron and required all clients under audit to be able to produce this document in-house with their own accounting resources. Most places don't have CPAs as their folks that do their books, and not just a CPA, but somebody that's trained in governmental accounting, current with licensure, and having yellow book and accounting CPE, continuing education. They're hard to find. I would say 75 to 80% of our clients don't have that. And this finding is what was agreed to years ago by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, the AICPA, and various other interested parties to respond to that. So you've had this finding for as long as some of you have been on this board, and since after Enron is when this appeared. This does not affect your state funding, grant funding, private funding, anything whatsoever. It simply states the fact that you do not have somebody that does this. And your recommendation at the bottom of this page, county's decision to rely in part on the audit firm for the preparation of external financial statements is allowable, provided the county accepts responsibility for the financial statements and that it is disclosed as part of the report on internal control and compliance. So there is a mechanism that clients can use the audit firm to help draft this stuff, but it's got to be disclosed, which is what Leelanau County and most of our other clients have done. So this is you'll see this until they change the audit standards again. And I don't know if I see that one going away. All right, the next page, section 3 at the top, federal award findings. So when people go into the world of having single audits, especially if they haven't had them in a while, those rules change over time. So if you haven't had one for 10, 12 years, all of a sudden you have to have one. Well, first of all, it's not usually determined until late in the year. Well, now you have to follow all these grant policies. And a lot of folks like, we didn't know, so we come in and do the audit. This is a finding as a result of that. So if you look at the condition, although the county has process in place to cover these assets, talking about grant guidance, there is no formal written policies governing payments, procurement, allowability of costs that address all of the areas required by uniform guidance. Think back 3 or 4 years, you didn't have audits, you didn't care about this. Well, now all of a sudden you have to have a single audit. Now this standard is something you have to comply with. Maybe 2 years from now, you don't have a single audit. If you don't have a single audit, you don't have to comply with it. But when you do have one, these are the rules that get a little sticky. There's another one we'll talk about here in a minute. There were no question costs that was related to this particular finding. And the county has already addressed it in a corrective action plan where they're going to address the proper policies related to grant guidance, uniform grant guidance in their policies and procedures. You'll see that, I'm sure, that'll get adopted by you guys as a board, and that'll keep you compliant. So you are not the first client to get that finding. And the next one, on the next page, this is another one that popped up with a lot of our clients who hadn't had a single audit in a while. The procurement suspension and debarment program, where the grant recipient is required to make sure that a vendor is not suspended or debarred by the federal government on a specific website. We were not able to obtain evidence that the county did that. So we are recommending that any vendor that you're going to be spending dough with, you make sure you check that they're not on the state's or the federal suspension and debarment. It's only responsible for federal dollars. So, but it's still a good quality control practice to make sure you're not doing business with people who are suspended and debarred. So if you didn't have a single audit, this is not relevant, but you did, so it is relevant. And I believe the county management agrees with the finding and has prepared a corrective action plan to address that. All right. The next page shows the findings from the prior year. Again, those are all in this document here, but these are just the highlights. And then you've got your corrective action plan for the next 2 pages. This is what Kathy gave. Any questions on the single audit? I have one very brief document to go through. I don't know if you have this or not. This is our representation letter or audit communication letter. It basically says what we told you on January 16th we were going to do. We've done that. We are here to make sure that we tell you that we've issued our report. Plan, scope, and timing of the audit. We completed planning in March the 11th in our office, and we did not have to make any modifications. Other than adopting GASB 101, there were no other changes in accounting principles. There were no difficulties encountered during the audits. There were no disagreements with management. And then you'll see there's a list of some upcoming accounting pronouncements that when those become effective, if they are effective for the county, we will help the county in getting those complied with. Only other thing I'd like to add is when the audit went very well, and we appreciate all the efforts between everybody that's involved. You know, onboarding a new administrator and all of that is time consuming and can be a little bumpy, but everything went great as far as we're concerned. And We like working with all the different departments here at the county, and I certainly appreciate you guys doing business with Raymond. And if you have any questions, you can ask them now, or you can send me an email, call me. I'm around all the time. So
Mr. Wessel?
I'm going to ask you this.
I know you are.
The teachers in the audience, what grade do you give us?
I'm gonna give you an A- today. Yep. And the reason being is, you get a couple little stinky things with this, with the single audit, but those are not, there's no missing money, there's no unallocated, inappropriately allocated funds. It was a good, clean audit, you know? I think that in large part, the unit functions according to the state treasury manual. You know, the state treasury manual is very clear about, it gets a little overboard sometimes because they write those things for the Waynes, Macombs, Oaklands, and Kent counties. They're tough to kind of get into the smaller counties. But they're very clear that, you know, that your clerk's office manages your expenses. Your treasurer's office manages the revenue side, and it's all for internal control purposes. This county does a good job of that. And I think that moving forward, I think you might even get to an A next year, Ty. Let's keep our fingers crossed, right? So.
I would like to thank our hardworking finance department who worked really hard
Yes.
to get their employees functioning and on board. I think you did a good job.
Here, here.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you very much. Well spoken. I agree 100%. Thank you, everybody. Michelle, Kathy, you still here? Yep. Yep. So, yeah. This is not done without a lot of heavy lifting, so.
Mike?
Yeah, and the clerk and also as their assistants.
Yep.
Helping with that. That's great too.
Yep. It's a team effort.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, because I sat through these two, and it's really nice to not have many asterisks out there. I did go through not just this budget, but I have copies of the last two, and I do find it notable that our unassigned fund balance increased, and you had mentioned that by a substantial amount. I took the step of comparing that with our general fund expenditures and transfers out. You have done that before, and I would like to note that that percentage of unassigned fund balance was 48% this year. It was 51% in the previous audit, and it was 57% in the audit before that. So that's just a trend, I think, that it's good to know. I had a couple other things that I think amount to more questions than that. In your fund balances for childcare, those types of things, you added a line at the bottom this time called total liabilities deferred inflows.
Okay, are you,
I'm on
which?
page, I am on page 96.
I see. Let's go back in the footnotes here.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I was trying to, because I like to make comparisons.
Sure.
But that was not on the last two budgets, or last two audits.
Which fund are you referring to? This is the.
The last line of all of those funds has total liabilities, deferred inflows of resources and fund balances. In particular with this, I was trying to figure out that this community development block grant had a $609,000 down there.
Yeah, so that 609, the function of the 28,444, the 486,710, and the 94,828. That's the total of the 609,982.
So is that fund, those funds are owed the county? Is that?
Nope, this is a separate fund that the county has for CDBG repayment. This is cash that they have in their general checking account. They've got some loans that they have to collect on. They've got some accounts payable. This functions very much like your general fund, but at a much smaller pace.
I may give you a call.
That's fine. Yep.
Understand that.
And special revenue funds, by definition, have to be very specific for accounting. So that's why, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, these are non-major special revenue funds.
And I know we're all swamped, so I just got one more.
Okay.
On page 50, you have a narrative that discusses a budget stabilization arrangement under which, through an adopted policy, the county will maintain a general fund balance of 15% of the previous year's budget. Then you note that on December 31st, that amount was 1,226,000 some change. So
Right.
my gathering from that is we're not following our own policy. Not that we don't have plenty of funds, but we just haven't put them in the proper file, the proper line.
Well, let's verify that to make sure. I believe.
Yeah, page 50.
Yeah, I got it.
My eyes are starting to blur.
No, that's
It's
okay.
getting a little late. for
Yep,
me.
no, you're good. That 1,226,165 is hanging out in your unassigned fund balance. So you have exceeded the 1,226,000.
Yeah, but as a percentage of our expenditures, it doesn't quite get there.
Oh, I see what you're, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll figure that out for you. I will get you the answer to that and see if we're off or not. I don't think we
No,
are.
I'm not saying you're off. I'm just saying that I think this has kind of been going on and I'm on my soapbox for way too long. That I think we either need to follow that policy or change.
Okay.
And that's really where I'm pushing on this, is to either change the policy or follow it.
Okay, I will do some research on this and I will correspond directly with you, Mr.
I
Campbell.
appreciate it.
Yep.
I move to accept the audit and single audit from Leelanau County for year ended December 31, 2024, Leelanau County financial statements and single audit compliance.
Second. That works.
Are you okay if I just massage that a little bit?
What you had written that.
I know, but I.
Okay, go ahead. Whatever.
All right, any discussion on that? Not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
For that, we're up to review financials. Do you have any questions for our finance director?
I'm listening.
I'm assuming there's.
I have just one question. On Cole Stoker, there was an
Yeah.
extra $1,300 or something.
Non-retainer,
Beyond their retainer, it was a separate.
correct.
You know what that was for?
Well, a non-retainer falls under, usually it has to do with litigation.
Union negotiations was my guess, but maybe it's litigated. I didn't know if it was union negotiations or if it was this lawsuit that we're kind of caught up with Beta and like that.
They're not billing for Beta.
No, it's-
The Figura.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we use
That's
Mike,
probably-
Micah Myers for that.
I
We use
just- it
Micah
just
Myers
stuck out.
for Beta.
I can ask you tomorrow if it's
Yeah.
union negotiations. Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
You're free to see those invoices whenever you want.
Yes.
You're free to look at and review all of them. There's a whole file.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any invoice questions? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just, I think this is from post audit, but it says that workers' comp was 11,690. Is that a monthly bill that we get or?
No, they break it out into, I think it's quarters, and there's a few that are smaller, and then there's a larger sum. I can send you the copy of that invoice so you can see how those fall.
Okay, so that's not, that
That's not
amount is not the regular amount. I just wondered. Then we have travel for childcare. I was just wondering where is that?
It's in
somebody-
post audit.
Yes.
Yes, the employees, the probation, or the juvenile prevention officer, or what's their title? Yeah, they do travel to go to homes for the children or the juveniles, and so they are reimbursed. So
Well,
it's,
They didn't take somebody downstate or something.
no,
That's
these
just
are,
they're driving around
they're
the
driving
town.
around the county to their appointments with their students and, mhm,
Okay. Thank you.
sure.
Any other questions?
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
now staff report.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this is the quarter ended and I had commissioners request to see cash balances in all of our funds. This is done in collaboration with Treasurer's Office. They reconcile all the accounts. And what I've done is continue something that you have seen. And what we want to draw your attention to is the cyclical nature of our cash flow, specifically with the general fund. And I'm on this document, the first one. So if you look back to 23, and if you go to the total column, you can see January down to July, we start dwindling in general fund cash, and then our collection starts because the tax bills go out on July 1st. And then we uptick because they're due. Summer bills, which is the county revenues on that bill, is due September 15th. And it starts increasing the balance of our general fund. Same thing happened again in 24. You can see where it starts high, goes low in July, and then it ticks back up again. So this is something that I work very closely with the treasurer's office, so we're all on the same page with regard to like an anomaly. July, we have 3 payrolls. It happens twice a year. There's 3 in 2 months. This year it just happens to be July. So I just thought you'd like to see that. This is also the time of year where the county treasurer makes sure that we're very liquid so that we don't have any investments in paper, bonds, or CDs. And then the next set of columns is your DTR, your delinquent tax revolving fund. And this is just a position of cash, money market, investments, and the total. And on the far right is a combination of your general fund and your DTR, cash, money market, investments. The second page, I have tweaked this one a bit for you because last time I think we got excited when we saw $24 million sitting at the bottom of that page. I moved 2 funds to the very top of the page. One is the general fund, which pays for your operations. The next one is your DTR, which has got some restrictions on it with regard to surplus and non-surplus funds. So we're careful with how we deal with DTR. You have a policy about that. But all the rest of the funds that head you towards your big total are restricted in one way or another. They are specific for specific purposes. So I did tweak this a bit so that we wouldn't get excited about that bottom line because there are restrictions to a lot of it. Also, you'll see that the first quarter balances, the bottom line number was 24 million. It's now 18 million. You think about things that have happened in one quarter, which is your treasurer settled all the municipalities. So all your municipalities are made whole. So he used his DTR to make sure that the schools have what they need, senior services have what they need, your libraries, fire and rescues, everybody has their money. And then he goes out and has a receivable to collect delinquent taxes. So his cash gets depleted in this quarter every year. Also, we finally spent the last of our ARPA money. That was $400,000. That's a good hit right there. And then because you see the ebb and flow of our general fund where we get skinny in July, that again shows you the change between one quarter and the next. And especially as we are waiting for the property tax to be collected, how now we're going toward the rebuilding that fund balance. or that cash balance. So some of the commissioners have asked for this. I said maybe on a quarterly basis, we've been able to give you that. And I think that we'll address this further during the budget process, and I think you'll be hearing more from John Gallagher on this topic. Does that give you enough information?
Thanks, Kathy.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you, Tricia.
Yes, absolutely. And then I would just like to make a few notes regarding thanking Steve Peacock for the audit. It was a pleasure working with him and his team. And I am always very happy to hear about our strengths and our areas where we can improve. And I need to thank Elizabeth Gray and Mike Burkmeyer, my finance department team, because Elizabeth has been with me over a year now. And so she was very instrumental because she'd already been through an audit a year ago. She was new. She'd only been here 2 weeks and we threw her into it, but she was very instrumental. And Mike has come on as my assistant finance director, and he's approaching his 1-year anniversary. And he's really grasping accounting, governmental accounting very, very well. So I need to also thank the clerk, Michelle Crocker, and Chief Deputy Clerk Jen Zawicki for making time available for me and my staff to ask for clarification of procedures, processes, giving us readily accessibility to historical data, and all their support while I work on building your finance department. Now, as to what's going on currently, your department heads and elected officials have turned in a majority of their budget workbooks. So we'll be compiling their requests for you to see in August. So we're starting down that road right now. And then something I wanted to bring to your attention is that an ongoing project since September of 24 is to become compliant with the new State of Michigan Chart of Accounts. I brought this to the attention of the Board of Commissioners in 2024 that we needed to become compliant. It has not been a finding because we entered COVID. During those times, many county governments slowed that process. Raymond knows that we are working toward it because we used an arm of Raymond Financial called Raymond Solutions to build our crosswalk. So they took the requirements of the new chart of accounts and applied them to our chart of accounts and made a crosswalk. And then we paid them for that process. We turned the crosswalk over to our financial software company, and they have taken that and developed a conversion program to not only take our 15-number account number system, make it compliant with this, but we had them convert to 3 zeros of those 15 so that if we ever wanted to go to a 12-number system, we could just drop them. They've also programmed the conversion so it'll drive back into our database and convert everything historically, so we don't have to run 2 databases. So this is a significant programming feat that they have accomplished for us. They also have told us that they would like to do the conversion in August. My team, we've talked about an opportune time to do that. We will work collaboratively with anyone who uses the Harris Financial software so that they know when this is happening. And they estimate it could take up to 50 hours of downtime. So we will start probably on a Thursday evening after everyone goes home and start the conversion and go through the weekend. There'll be a backup of the database before we start. They'll print all the reports. They'll do the conversion, reprint, compare, make sure we're balanced and that everything functions with some testing. They've done independent testing with a sample of our database in their software development. So I feel very confident with this. I want to thank Mike Burkmeyer. He took this on as one of his first projects. He's been working with our financial software company, so I give him kudos. He also has developed something that will help all our department heads understand the conversion, whereas there'll be an Excel spreadsheet given to all of our department heads and elected. They'll find their department, there'll be a drop down. It'll give them what their old account number looked like and what their new number will look like. And there's also going to be something on their desktop where they can plug in the old number and it'll tell them what the new number is until they get used to it. I'm used to them because I've done it for years. Michelle can probably rattle off numbers, Jen can rattle off numbers. It's going to be difficult for those of us that have been here, let alone anyone new. So with that, I just wanted to let you know where we're at on that process. No budget amendments today for you. There will be budget amendments in August. Is there any questions? You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Any other special reports by staff or commissioners?
Just one, based upon your approval of the budget process, one of the parts of that motion gave me the authority to, do the schedule and the proposed work sessions, and I want to pass out a copy of that to you all. What you'll see is the first meeting we're proposing is the priorities meeting that we talked about, where you're going to just have a general discussion about the budget, take into consideration the policies that Commissioner Campbell has raised, and generally get essentially ready to do further discussion. The second meeting will be review the capital improvement program document. By that I mean you will have already approved the capital improvement program, but this will be transitioning. What will you transition from the program to the actual operational budget? That'll be the second meeting. The third meeting will be the treasurer and finance director giving presentations regarding the income and expense sides, how they deal with the accounting, some of the things you've heard about in the audit tonight, how that takes place. Then we've scheduled 3 days of department presentations where we'll have all the department heads and elected officials come in and give you presentations regarding how they function, what they do, and what their budget priorities are beyond those things that you've already articulated. The final meeting will be on October 14th. Final work session will be on October 14th, and that's going to be the health insurance review and a budget recommendation from staff. Reason we're putting the health insurance review at that point, we're expecting by that time we'll have our renewal document from Blue Cross Blue Shield, that we'll know what if any increase there is in the stop loss fee that they charge, things like that, and you'll be in a position to make some decisions and how that impacts the budget again. And you'll see on here there are 3 of these meetings that are just identified as to be determined. We're going to use those only if they're necessary, and if they're not, we're going to cancel. The last one is the one that you mentioned. So if you can take a copy of that, pass it down, that'll give you an understanding of exactly the process we're going to undertake to improve the budget.
Any questions for our administrator? Not, we are on to public comment. We have 5 minutes. Mr. Hoskin.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna take this. I'm just gonna take this.
I'm Jerry Hoskins from Northport. I thank you all for your time. I know this has been a long night. I don't know how you do it, and I applaud you. I fully support Tony Borden. This former attorney, he's had 30 years in this. I fully support his comments. I have nothing against Mr. Dyer at all. I don't know him. But the noted issues involving our new county administrator should not be partisan or political. It's your contract. It's about the broken promises that he made to each of you by signing his employment contract, which presumably had good reasons. For example, not to allow him to promote using his title, using county resources for outside work, and focus on county business full-time, exclusively. Okay? Why have contracts if you aren't going to enforce them? Fine. If you think that these numerous violations are nitpicky, okay, and not very important, then rip it up. Okay, just rip it up and do it publicly. Are you sleeping, sir? Okay.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, you're speaking to the board.
You need to address.
Well, I just want to make sure they were listening. I'm sorry.
Respect.
Let's let our public speak right now.
Okay, so you inherited this contract. You didn't draft it. I understand and appreciate that. But now you're responsible for upholding it. Your new county administrator has made no disclosures of his outside activities. He's ignored provisions requiring board approval. His conduct won't stop unless you guys act. The public is watching, your employees are watching, your leadership now matters, okay? So if you don't find Tony Borden's arguments persuasive, listen to your own outside counsel who says, let me read the closing paragraph of his opinion, which I hope you read. Regarding your new county, it doesn't excuse his actions, it cautions you. Although the board of directors seat does not meet the strict legal definition of outside employment requiring BOC approval, as a practical matter, I would recommend the provisions in A 1-5 be used as a guide to avoid potential questions. I would recommend providing Board of Commissioners with an update on this topic to be consistent with the spirit of the provision. That's pretty clear. Since our local paper, unfortunately, she left, they're not covering this issue. I took the time to make a timeline. For any of you that are willing to look at these examples, they're breaches. Let's do something about it. Keep them, but warn them, whatever you guys want to do, but let's at least look at this stuff. I enter them for the public record, and I thank you for your time. Can I give these to somebody?
Comment? Mr. White?
Thank you. My name is Jim White. I'm a resident of Sutton's Bay, and I think most of you know who I am, but I'm going to be a little contrary tonight. That's probably no big surprise to some of you. First thing I would like to do is take issue with the shutdown of Ms. Renee Weiler earlier this evening, when she said she wanted to talk about the performance of the county administrator and was told it wasn't germane to the agenda. I totally disagree with that. I think she should have been allowed to continue her remarks. I'm glad to see that she's back, so maybe that will give her the opportunity to say what she wanted to say. I also, once again, disagree with Ty Wessel. He and I disagree all the time. It's like an old tradition. I stand by my statement that the county administrator was not directed to propose disbanding the Housing Action Committee. I further reiterate my contention that Mr. Dyer took action to redistribute government responsibilities in a manner that exceeded his authority and then publicly was insubordinate when questioned about it by an elected commissioner who was effectively his supervisor. I think both of those actions were inappropriate, and I agree with Mr. Borden and with Mr. Hosking that you need as a board to rein that kind of behavior in. And while we're on the subject of the county administrator, I would like to point out that the contract this board approved for a new county administrator is ridiculous. Why do I say that? Well, let's look at a few facts. The average compensation for a Michigan County Commissioner is approximately $85,000 a year. The median is $80,000 a year. And you can look these up. I've looked it up myself, and that's why I did ranges, because there's some small variation, but that's basically your ballpark. The county executive of Oakland County makes $125,000 per year, and he manages a county with a population in excess of 1.2 million people. I used to live there, so I know a little bit about that county. It's definitely a lot more complex than what we're dealing with up here. Their policy regarding vacation provides 10 days of vacation in the first year. Would you like to guess how long it takes them to give somebody 25 days of vacation? It requires 20 years of service before they get 25 days of vacation. Contrast that with the contract this board lavished on our county administrator. A salary of $127,000, significantly more than what Oakland County is paying. 25 days of vacation in the first year, not 20. Car allowance, 3-year contract, 12 paid personal days, et cetera, et cetera. Bottom line is that the taxpayers of this county will pay $127,000 a year plus benefits and other expenses for approximately 10 months of work in his first year. This is a continuation of the practice by majority of this board to spend taxpayer funds irresponsibly, recklessly, and frankly, inexplicably. I strongly urge this board to discipline Mr. Dyer for his poor judgment in violating his contract, as these other speakers have pointed out, and to renegotiate this contract to a reasonable level based on market data such as I have just provided you. If you as a board want to be taken seriously when you claim to want to make government more efficient and less expensive, i.e. reduce spending, you're going to have to make decisions that reflect that goal. You have failed to do that in the hiring of Mr. Dyer and the supervision of his work, as well as the issuance of his contract. Please take action to fix the situation and ensure it does not recur. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir. Oh, okay.
Arm wrestle.
Yeah.
Jim Coverton, Leelanau Township. I'd like to apologize that I didn't get up earlier because this does directly relate to an agenda item. That was covered, but it sounds like it's not finished yet, which is good. I think all of you should be familiar with the phrase government job. If you ever worked for a company that wasn't government related, is a term that's loosely, a slang that's loosely used. I find it kind of ironic that we've actually have a government job going on in the government, which is kind of funny when I think about it. It's doing some other business that your employer, and from what I understand and what I've read about the contract, our administrator is considered an employee regardless who says what about it. And once again, I never got a copy of what our attorney, what our counsel, the counsel that we're paying for the citizens of Leelanau County, what his main decision was, or final decision on that subject from a month ago. Anyways, without any more delay, I'm just going to play this. Two things to take out of it, short little clip. The elephant in the room that was discussed earlier today, which, yep, I'm going to bring it back up again. It wasn't just that moment of time in the morning, whenever this took place, but you'll also hear as a reference to a trial in the afternoon. Now, I don't know if our county administrator would have been involved in a trial too, but that would have been more time during that day if it went, if it actually happened. I don't know, can't speak about it, but it's referenced there. Also, the idea of moving it up to another court, from small claims up to another court, and the reason why, I guess I would do it too. It's a smart move. Small claims court, as was mentioned, you can't use government immunity. It has to be bumped up to a higher court. I never knew that, but then again, what do I know? I'll just stop. I'll let this run.
Mr. Dyer is here on behalf of the village. Are you able to hear me as well? And Your Honor, thank you. It is Mr. Dyer's motion, so I'm going to ask him to expand on that. This is your opportunity to make that argument, Mr. Dyer.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Before I proceed, I just want to indicate for the record that my position regarding this motion does not have any impact on I appreciate though. Despite that, unfortunately, I believe this lawsuit was ill-conceived. And as I indicated in the brief and the motion and the brief, that there is really no legal basis for it, for this claim. The attorney fees involved arise out of a lawsuit that was filed by the village of Northport. One of the other reasons for seeking summary disposition, and the reason it's before this court rather than in the small claims court, is the small claims court cannot consider the defense of governmental immunity by law. And we've raised that as to the extent that there's a claim of a tort liability, we've raised the defense of immunity, that there is no genuine issue of material fact that the village of Northport would be protected by immunity from any tort claim. And again, there's no there's no response for Mr. For the reasons that it sees fit on the record. Immunity from any tort claim, and there's no response for Mr. Kant just stated, and those reasons stated in the motion and accompanying brief. I'm asking the court to dismiss both claims for the reasons that it sees fit on the record.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dyer. Is there anything else you care to add, Mr. Dyer?
Your Honor, I did indicate that it was granting the motion as to summary, as to governmental immunity. Should the order reflect that C7 is also one of the bases for the motion or the order?
This is only 3 minutes. That's 5 minutes.
Oh,
It's not
I'm
up.
sorry, I wasn't clear about that. C7.
When I stood up,
Okay. And I presume you'd ask that I prepare the order of dismissal, or does the court do that?
Yes, I would ask that you prepare an order of dismissal.
I'll do so and submit it on a 7-day.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Are we gonna get that copy from our county attorney, or county paid attorney regarding the decision on whether?
Sir, your 5 minutes are up, please. Okay. Please.
Okay. I hope you put that into your decision-making process
All right, is
within the
there,
next month.
thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, any other public comment? Mr. Kelsey.
Good evening. I want to discuss the item of childcare and the issue of the unmet needs fund. Citizens can pretty easily conclude that the millages that are foisted on the public by self-initiation of millages by the county commissions. All these millages we have were self-initiated by the county commissions, not by the people. The people did not petition for these millages. So these type of millages are a good reason to continually overspend. This information that we had on a child fund, that the fund balance in 2 years went from 325 to 648. And we're finding every way, including unmet needs, to spend that money. That tells us taxpayers that the appearances are that we're overtaxed. But it's a difficult concept for commissioners to adopt because they're accustomed to overtaxing and overspending, and they'll always spend every penny you get. Another matter, a missing item on the agenda was the apology required due to the clerk loathing motion of May 11, 2021. We have that document on the document that we presented last week. It's part of the public record in written form. I'll repeat that again, but just to indicate that we're searching for this commission to prepare this apology resolution for all the harm and waste that has occurred. Also on housing, the Mackinac Center on August 4th has a morning session from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. regarding housing and the complexities of the housing issues we have in the whole state and the countrywide. I do not know what's going to be presented, but there are a couple of experts will be present. I would urge every county commissioner to, if possible, or somehow attend it and provide a report. I can't be sure there's a lot of meaningful material there, but it could be some new stuff that would help all of us understand the complexities of it. Thank you.
Thank you. The other public comment? Yes, Renee.
So once again, I'm Renee Weiler from Lake Leelanau. And I'm very concerned about all the conflicts of interest with the nonprofits, with public officials and the LLCs, and we're looking into that because there's some serious conflicts of interest, but I'm not going to go into that right now. What I would like this board to do is to assist me with my bond claims that have been in process with MMRA for about 90 days now. And I understand there's some extracurricular activities going on, but I thought that Dyer was my person that would help me, assist me with that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So I need you to move these forward because we have 3 women. There's Christine Geiger who has filed, these are all Magistrate Elsenheimer related, due process violations, deprivation of rights under color of law. They're not going to go away. There are 2 other women that are going to be most likely entering into it. One has already filed a complaint with the Judicial Tenure Commission. So I need someone here to take care of these, move them forward. Guy Desjardins is our claim representative, and he has been out of the office. And when we talk to him, he's very belligerent. So I don't even know if you have bond coverage right now to cover due process rights, civil rights violations. So that's going to be a big problem if you're not covered. And we don't have any indication that you are. So we need some kind of proof of coverage. And I appreciate if you would work on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Wiesner?
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. And handout I just handed out gives us 2 more great reasons that we need 1 person, 1 ballot, 1 vote, 1 day in order to have no fraud. Just what's on there would be enough, in my opinion. And the handout is 2 recent articles. Well, one is really recent. The first one is about Muskegon, where they had the voter fraud there, and it was hidden. It was hidden from, it didn't come out until 2023. Muskegon voter fraud scandal, where this lady, she turned in 8,000 ballots or 8,000 requests for ballots. And then the next day she turned in 2,000 to 4,000 of them. But this was all being investigated by the local police, but then it was taken over by the state police and pretty much didn't hear anything about it after that.
Yeah.
I still had light here. That was
We
okay.
have to end the meeting.
Time's up.
But anyway, and this is at the same time that that they were trying to prosecute the electors for the Republican side, saying, you know, it was obvious there was no fraud, but Dana Nessel and Jocelyn Benson knew about this fraud that was going on, and they wouldn't answer freedom of information requests either. The second article is very new. It's from July 12th, it broke, and the Bureau of Election Director, Jonathan Brader in Michigan, he admitted to statewide instruction to delete poll book information, and he admitted that it was unlawful. And the Attorney General and Secretary of State coming after Adams Township Clerk Stephanie Scott and her attorney, Stephanie Lambert, and trying to put them away for years and years. You can see the thing there. At issue as a testimony was on December 1st. Graders said to the clerks, Michelle and all the other clerks, to delete the poll books by a certain date. All those records are supposed to be kept for 22 months. So what's going on? And just to go back to the last time I spoke on the $100,000 challenge. Those who think there's no voter fraud, just accept this $100,000 challenge. This is a handout. You can find it at leelanau.gov if you look at the executive meeting last week and look at the extra documents under B. Wiesner. But as Trump vote increased, the vote against this Gallagher amendment to raise taxes stayed the same for the whole night. 46% were against it. That would mean that it would be repealed and they could raise the taxes. And the second slide is showing again the increase in Trump vote. Gallagher staying the same, but Trump against Gallagher decreased, and it decreased more in the bigger counties. That's what the seesaw is. In a small county where the Republican is smaller, it only decreased to 66%. But in a big county like Mesa or El Paso, it was down to 60%. So these are just really unnatural happenings. And here it says, as Trump increased from 35 to 70%, Trump opposition to Gallagher dropped from 63 to 50%. And that's what this graph shows here. As Trump increased, the opposition to Gallagher decreased. And that's totally unnatural. And then in Nevada, this one, my printer doesn't do well, but this is a football stadium, and 80% of the people were in red because that's how many in the early vote voted for Trump. But in the day of vote, it dropped down to 55%. So it went from 4-to-1 to nearly 1-to-1 ratio. And that's unnatural. And I'm out of time pretty much. So this is not good to have this stuff. It's so simple. One person, one ballot, one vote, one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Have any other public comment? All right, we're up to Commissioner comments. Commissioner
Just an FYI, the Housing Action Committee, a change did need to be made. They didn't have authority. They came up with recommendations and criteria that have been used by other counties. They were excellent, but we really needed to move on to the next, to another phase. Second, briefly, I apologize for not remembering that last week we got a list of not only what the proposal for car seats entailed, but also there is information on what unmet needs are. We all received this last week, if anyone needs a copy, but it's the specificity we were talking about, and I regret not remembering that it was right.
Any other commissioner?
I'm assuming you don't want me to read it.
Oh, well, we have a copy of it.
Just something quick with Mr. Dyer. Jim, next week or at our next meeting, could we get an update on broadband? And just so we could all get on the same page. And at the end of their contract, when they're finished, they're supposed to also provide us with a report. So Radio North had the $60,000 contract with us that I think is expiring this month. They had the $50,000 contract that expired on June 30th. If we could have reports on both of those from them. It's within their contract. They were supposed to give us quarterly reports for the one, And then an end of, it was a 1-year contract for 50,000. By June 30th, we were supposed to get that report.
Repeat which you're talking about.
It's housing nor
Housing, matter of fact,
I might have said radio north. Did I? Did I? They have contracts with them too.
Let me clarify something. The $50,000 contract that you're referring to for Housing North is actually only tribal 2% grants. There is another arrangement with Housing North. The $50,000 contract was actually 2% grant, so we don't have that. We can get the report that they provided to the tribe. The tribe provides those to us.
If you look, I think it specifically does say though that Leelanau County was supposed to receive that. I believe.
It could be.
Yeah, anyways, if you just
Just
keep.
right, I'm not, I think, Kathy, when we discussed that, the $50,000 specific amount was a 2% grant.
Was funded by gaming allocation.
Yeah, and there is a requirement that they provide, a report. And that it first goes to the tribe, then it comes to us. Whether they've done that yet or not, I'm not personally aware, but
I appreciate it.
provide
Just
it.
so it's on your radar.
Housing North, I think you said there were 3.
Point broadband.
Point broadband.
Get an update. If they're getting near their final payment, they're also required to provide us some detailed.
Was there a third?
But there was 2 contracts with Housing North.
Okay, those 2. All right.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Thank you.
Any other commission comments? Mr. Robbins?
First of all, Mr. Bunnick, you were right on that. We voted on a policy, but there's a lot of hidden things behind that policy that really wasn't discussed tonight because I did a bunch of research during the meeting. I'm still listening to people, but we've opened up the door tonight to allow the sheriff to have deputies live in Cadillac, Manistee. That's the same mileage as what we just voted on. I just did some simple math on this one particular employee that we're gonna let take a vehicle. With his mileage, it may be a little high, but, he has to pay $15 a week to take home a vehicle. But it's gonna cost us taxpayers about $200 to $250 a week. That's pretty good pay raise. So when you do that, it's coming down between $200, $250 a week that we're paying for fuel to have an employee come here. So, we gotta be careful. Like I said, we just opened up the door for the sheriff to let him go to Manistee, let the deputies drive all the way to Manistee. So we opened up a can of worms here, and I hope this trial thing works, but I think people need to know what the actual cost is here.
I like to go home and think about all the good news, and I want to compliment Kathy and the finance staffs and our treasurer's office and everybody that's part of it. Wonderful audit. Thank you.
Other commission comments? All right, if not, we're up to approval of financials.
Make the motion to pay claims and accounts for $308,427.70.
Supported, discussion? Not, all in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
I'd like to make the motion to pass and take care of the post audit, $1,871,949.21.
Support. Moved and supported, discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Kathy.
All right, with that, we're adjourned. Get some sleep.